Welcome to episode 42 of Cast in the Shadows. I will deafen myself here and we can get started with some Star Citizen stuff.
No. In the future, like none of this shit, none of these little workarounds. We'll have much more robust systems to actually go and save us for this kind of shit.
Yeah.
So this is in regards to the 30K stuff, right? The heartbeat server
and
system.
peripheral, general item recovery. But one thing to note too, and this is probably the biggest gap. So I don't know if in the case of a 30K, for your personal inventory. So this is the stuff that you have either equipped to your person or in your backpack or leg armor, but it's still on your personal character. I don't know if in the case of a 30K, if it goes and says, hey, there was some kind of a disconnect here. We're going to do the same thing we do for a local disconnect, and you keep your gear. I'm not certain on that. Well, I think that's the case.
The inventory's back end functions separately from the game server. That's why you can equip things, and that's why you have that little bit of lag and stuff, because it's connected to back end service. So it shouldn't have any effect on what you have on you. Once you put it in your inventory or on your person, then as long as that information is being sent to the back end, then it's going to persist.
Yep. But that's still even if your personal character's inventory gets recovered in the same way that it kind of is now, you still have an obvious hole where, let's say, for example, I go and buy some cargo for my Hercules. Let's say I had a Hercules, I buy a bunch of cargo, and then a minute after I bought that cargo, 30K. Oops, it didn't, the heartbeat the snapshot it takes is every 5 minutes. Sorry, you're out all that money, so essentially in that case, you've lost everything. Now, obviously to a certain extent, this is only the first iteration of them trying to give us a recovery system, but there's still gaps there.
Go ahead. Sorry. I was just going to say, until we get the full persistence with the backend service that has the database, there's always going to be edge cases like that, because it's just a band-aid for it's an effort to make it more tolerable, but it's not an end-all be-all. It's just, here we know this is a problem. Here is an intermediate fix while we wait, so it's not as punishing. But there's always going to be the edge case.
That's what I was going to say. Is I thought this whole the whole system was literally just a patch to make it. This isn't even intended to be in the game in the long term.
It's basically a hack, because they realize that trying to do trading and stuff is very punishing with 30Ks, and they want to make it viable for people. So that's the whole purpose of it.
Exactly. Cool. Well, because also too, they want to see how all the inventory systems are actually working here, and if people don't want to trade because you're going to lose everything every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh,
that we're talking and Mando's typing away.
Sorry.
Yeah, jeez.
Are we live yet?
Yeah, we're live now.
You told us, yeah. What?
I was going to say,
my God.
I don't want to repeat everything.
No, we're live. Everyone was curious. We're talking about so there's a new it's not in game yet, but there's a it's sort of implemented, not really.
So it is a in progress system that has not yet been pushed out even to the PTU servers. Long and short of it is that it will take a snapshot every little bit. They haven't defined yet what that means, but every little bit it'll take a snapshot of your ship and all of its contents, which from the way they talk about it, I am assuming to mean both cargo that you buy from like a trading terminal, and things like, hey, I put some weapons in my Mercury Star Runner's armory, or hey, I put a couple armors and some medical supplies in my ship's personal inventory window. All of that, as far as how they're talking about it, would be presumably covered by the system. And so if you 30K, it will then go and take the snapshot, apply it to your ship, and then store your ship at the last location it was at with that snapshot applied. So there will be some windows there where stuff can still fall through the gaps. But if you were traveling between ArcCorp and Hurston on a cargo run and you 30K in the middle of it, you would still have, assuming it's been, you were traveling for 5 minutes there, and let's say it's every 5 minutes that it takes a snapshot, your ship would be back at ArcCorp, filled with its cargo, waiting for you.
Yeah, a good way to think of it is the ship is an entity, and every time you put something in the entity, it becomes a child of that entity. So it should save the ship and everything that's inside of it, whether that be cargo or flare items or whatever you put in there.
Yep.
Potentially
so
even corpses.
Nice.
I don't know if that would actually work, but it could.
Supposedly, yeah.
Because I mean, they are entities, so it should get added in there.
Yep.
That'll be interesting to test out.
And it's in progress thing, so we're not going to be seeing it for a little bit, but it's not going to be. It's not like something that's a year out. So
they intend it for 3.15 because it's supposed to help with the trading, but they're still testing and trying to work out bugs.
Yeah.
From the sound of it, though, it seems the intent is to have it in before 3.15 goes live.
Yeah, they definitely want it in PTU for testing first. I don't see any world where they would release it to live without PTU test.
That'd be really bad if they did. But yeah, so that's the server heartbeat system. They're essentially taking a screenshot, or taking a snapshot of what the server was. So this way, it mitigates the risks of 30K, but it doesn't. It's not foolproof.
But I mean, this is Star Citizen. There's no such thing as foolproof, right?
No, and also it's first implementation. They're going to build on it and so on.
The only guarantee is that there will be bugs and issues that you run into when you play the game. It's something that you choose to accept because it's an alpha state.
Otherwise, you're going to have a real bad time.
Yeah.
It is an alpha, so it makes sense. But yeah, so that's that server heartbeat system. Speaking of 3.15, so we got the PTU. Again, I still don't have access to it, but you and Cam do. How are things in this PTU at the moment? Because we've had 3 new patches since we last covered it on Wednesday.
Right. I had some interesting interactions yesterday night when I was playing with a friend, and we were doing some bunker missions on Hurston. And also, we found this out the hard way. The freelancer, if you are a co-pilot, you can shut off engines, modify the shields, turn them off. You have full control if you're in the cockpit or in the co-pilot seat. And we found this out because I was coming into land and he accidentally hit the hotkey for shut off the engines. And we basically smashed into the ground and slid to a stop because he shut them off and then panicked. And I couldn't turn them on because he turned them off. So
that's even worse.
Yeah, once if they interact with it, then you can't as the pilot. Which that's definitely a bug. Yeah.
Yeah. But I know that was in 3.14.0 where the co-pilot could manipulate shields and power.
It's
only through hotkeys though.
Yeah. Well, in the Freelancer Max, you can use the MFDs even. You can
go
to the
good.
Screen and scroll the power all the way down and shut the ship off.
Yeah, anyway, I'm glad to hear that. But once one person uses a system, the other one can't. That's the bad part.
Yeah, that's definitely a bug.
It's like if full control is definitely good, but for both of them, there's like, hey, go and adjust the power like this when when you're in a battle or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first step towards being able to be Scotty, the engineer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
On the side, but yeah.
I'm giving it all she's got, Captain.
Now, when you were doing bunker missions, did you have any issues identifying the hostiles?
Well, from previous experience of going to prison because I shot the wrong guy, I take steps to ensure that the person I'm shooting at is actually a hostile. So if you zoom in on them, you can usually tell, or if you shine a light on them. In Hurston, it's very easy to distinguish enemies from friendlies because of the colors of the armor for me, anyways.
Okay, because I was doing I tried to do some bunker missions on Art Corp. Both the guards and the hostiles wear red armor. I'm just like
Eeny, meeny, miny, blam.
In Hurston, the security have like yellow and gray, and the bad guys have, I think it's like a bluish purple and a red undersuit. So it's pretty easy to distinguish as long as they're lit. But you do have to be careful because they sometimes spawn in the same spawn closet. So you can't just say, "Oh, that guy's there," and shoot everybody, because sometimes
you can't just unload your LMG into the group. And
so we did 3 bunker missions. All of them ended with us dying. The first one, he chose to do the certificate mission, but you can't share those. So I was like, okay, I'll take one of these others and share it. So we get into the bunker, we did some looting, we killed a couple bad guys, and then one of the bunker security guys turns around and just blasts us, and we both die.
Yeah,
I was like,
I've seen that too.
They fixed this. Well, they did. What happened? He didn't track the mission that I shared. So we were both in the security certificate mission. So to the security people, I was a bad guy.
Yup.
So they shot me, and he was in the way. That's why we both died there. The second mission, we went in, and we only had like undersuits and pistols because we were just going to lose some guards and stuff. So it started out working fine, but then the server started having some stability issues with lag and stuff. And the bad guys would just, one ran down the stairs right past like 3 guards that just let him do it and shot me and killed me because of the server lag. I ran around the corner and was still taking damage because that's just the way it's functioning right now due to the latency. So I died, and then the AI killed that dude. So my friend was like, okay, and I insta-died, by the way. I didn't go to downstate. I just 100 to 0, I was gone. And then my friend was like, okay, I'm just going to loot some things, and then you can fly over here, and we'll finish the mission or whatever. And then the server lagged again, and then there was a bad guy behind him and in front of him. They just popped in because I think it was like a 3 to 5 second worth of lag. But on the server, everything was still being processed. So he got surrounded and killed also.
I'm curious. You brought up a interesting point, which is I wonder how CIG is going to do AI identification, in the sense that, like, if we as players have to go around IDing somebody before we shoot them through some means, shouldn't the AI have the same problems that we have? In other words,
like,
no, because they have back-end systems that the AI will be able to automatically tell.
Yeah, tied into.
Clearly, it doesn't always work.
So.
Right, but I guess that's what I'm saying is, like, are they going to have like a slight delay in the AI's response when it first sees you to, like, kind of
to make it feel more natural,
simulate that process of identifying somebody? Because the reason I'm bringing this up is because in Arma it's a big issue, which is the AI just instantly recognizes whether you're friend or foe, no matter what you're wearing.
Unloads or
right. And so if we as players are having to go through these steps of should I or shouldn't I shoot, I'm thinking that the AI should also have to do that. I think there's pluses and
especially
minuses
if they want to make it so that AI are harder to tell between. It's harder to tell between AI and players. Yeah, they want to make it feel more natural. Then they're gonna have to make the AI kind of go like, wait, are you hostile or friendly? Kind of like in this way, you're both in that Mexican standoff for like, even if it's a millisecond. There's that, do I shoot this guy? And then one of you fires.
I mean, it's situational, right? Because if you're doing
if
you're going into a bunker, a security bunker, and nobody's supposed to be there, then obviously they're going to do something. But
that was something I was going to say, is that, like, it would totally make sense if it was like, a secure team where they all know each other and nobody else is supposed to be there. Then that identification window would be much smaller. But if it's just random out in the middle of nowhere, I would think that would be a longer. I'm sorry?
I would love to see. I doubt they would be able to make it work in a realistic fashion. But if you ever played like if I remember right, Modern Warfare 3 showed it in some of the single player. But in real life tactics, if I'm a friendly and I'm running towards friendly forces, and they're going, oh, maybe they don't have a visual on me, or maybe I'm still a ways away and they can't visually identify me yet for whatever reason. But you have a running code or a challenge and pass code to where, in the case of Modern Warfare, it shows two forces, or you're with some U.S. Army troopers. You've just been EMP'd. You're coming up on another armed force, and one guy goes, "Star, Star," and I forgot what the correct code
Yeah,
to that,
so
but he was like,
old
"Damn it,
cricket passwords.
say this, because if they do, that's showing, oh, they're a friendly force. That's how we're identifying each other because we have no comms." And something like that would be pretty cool if you could be like, oh, hey, I'm running up on Hurston Dynamics. I'm real close with them. They're going to be friendly to me. Let me identify myself to them.
Well, if you guys want to go down the rabbit hole, I can discuss some things that I would like to see.
Sure, like what?
Okay, so one thing I really hope that for criminal gameplay that they don't tie the crime stat of someone that's in a ship doing bad things to the pilot, because number one, there's no way to tell who the pilot would be. So the crime should be attached to the ship. That way, you could get out of the ship, and as long as nobody saw you, then you could still pass through gates or whatever. And unless security does a check on you and realizes that you're a criminal, then you're fine. And I want that to expand to the point where the AI wouldn't just know, hey, this is a bad guy. They would have to do a scan, and maybe you wouldn't get a notification that was happening, but it wouldn't just be an automatic, the AI knows you're a bad guy because
when we're walking into the cities. Now, our club, New Babbage, we have security checkpoints that you pass through. It's like, hey, you're walking through, there's a bunch of scanners in the hallway here that are pinging your, maybe your Mobigless's IFF records, and if something looks up, like it looks shoddily doctored, or it's like, oh, hey, this guy's a criminal because you didn't bother to shield or have a fake profile on your Mobigless. Hey, whoa, get this guy, some shit like that.
To caveat onto what Data Machine said, I'm in agreement that it should be tied to the ship, but by the same token, I also think that ship, in other words, like if the AI does a scan and it brings up your ship registry, I think that if that ship is doing something wrong, I think whoever's the registered owner should be getting tagged in that process.
Well, there's pluses and minuses to that, because it's not the ownership.
But it's just like modern day.
They could be considered a suspect, or
you own a car and your car is seen in a bank robbery. Guess what? The cops are going to come talk to you. It's not, oh, well, we don't know if you're driving, so we're not going to, that's what I'm getting at. Now, that comes into role play about, who do you loan your ships out to? Because, do you trust these people? That kind of stuff. Like, that's all I'm getting at as far as the scanning and then automatically, the AI automatically knowing. Now, anybody else on that ship should be free and clear. I agree with Data Machine. Like that, if you're not the registered owner, then guess what? They have no idea who you are until they physically come in and see that you're running that ship or whatever.
I actually had real life a very minor experience with something like that, where person knocks on the door of the condo I was in. I was still living with my parents at the time, but I had my own vehicle. I was working at the time. Here's some knocking on the door. It was like Saturday at like 9 a.m. or something. So I go over, open up the door, and there's two police officers. I'm like, hi, what can I help you with? Like, are you the owner of this vehicle? They described my vehicle, license plate. Yes, I am. Do you know anything about the owner of this other vehicle? Because we've seen it was parked next to there. Nope, sorry, I parked on the overflow parking for the apartment, but I have no idea who owns that vehicle at all. Okay, have a nice day. So obviously they that was some kind of person of interest to them, but I'm like, I got nothing for you guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I had a like experience. I living overseas in Spain. I had a tiny little like Ford Fiesta. Just, I mean, this thing. It was a common thing where when you live overseas in the military, when somebody's leaving, they sell their car to somebody else for like $200, and the thing usually
like, I can't take
barely
it with me.
runs. Yeah, and it's literally what they call a base beater. Like, it's just meant to drive around the base on and maybe out to the local store. So they're in really bad condition. And I get a knock on my door one day, and it's the Spanish police, and they're like, "Hey, is this your vehicle?" You know, and they read off the identification, all that. And I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on?" And they're like, "What were you doing last night with it?" And I was like, "It was parked," and I go out and I look down the street, and it's not there. And sure enough, it turns out that some drug addicts got in it and stole it, took it for a ride, and decided to shoot up and have sex in it. And
nice.
And they didn't even invite you.
I know. I actually had to sell a car like immediately because it was so trashed inside. Like they lit a fire inside of it to keep warm. Yeah, like it
that's gonna reek.
Bad.
Oh, that's.
But that was so that was my experience with being tied to a vehicle and having the cops come and knock on your door. And I had nothing to do with it, so I got I didn't have any problems. But in Star Citizen, I could totally see the authorities knocking on your door and being like, "Are you the owner of this ship? What's you need to explain why you loaned it out."
Yeah.
Or that it got stolen and
right.
Yeah.
Like say your ship got stolen when you were on on the surface of Microtech like 3 days ago. You're currently at ArcCorp, and cops there show up like, hey, UE advocacy, whatever. Like, hey, are you the owner of the ship that was stolen here? It's like, yeah, but I reported it stolen a few days ago. I lost it on Microtech. It's like, oh, okay, well, because apparently we found it yesterday. It was doing
on
some
fire,
massive
filled with widow,
whatever. Yeah, it'd just be cool because it'd make it more alive, I think.
Based on the systems that they have in the game right now, I'm not sure they're going to go with that.
Oh no, this is definitely end goal later down the line. Level of stuff.
Sure that's like years in the future.
Yeah. As I said, end goal. End goal.
You brought this up. I was agreeing with you.
Yes. Oh, so with 3.15, how's so everyone seems to be reacting positively to the medical gameplay.
Well, not everyone. So there's one unintended consequence of it. That being that one thing. So we still have the forced reaction glitches to where it's like you'll be walking and then you trip over your own fucking feet or down a staircase and you either die immediately or you'll go unconscious. You're like, okay, hey, we'll allow you to, even in cities, use the medical gun. Cool. Now you have people running around and overdosing anyone that dares to walk out of the room at landing zones and starting points. And worse, because it's a armistice zone, you can't go and defend yourself. So,
well,
however, I was just going to say, however, there is one thing you can do as a workaround, and that is to, if you already have either some supplies or a medical gun, you can pump yourself full of, I believe it's Resurgia, which is the detox chem. If you pump yourself full of that, and because it has a timer that'll last on there for a little bit, someone else can come up to you and try to OD you, and it's not going to do anything because you're already filled with the detox chem.
Also, you can buy detox pens that function the same or do the same function. It's like a med pen that you equip and just use, and they'll also.
Yep.
But overall, go ahead.
It is very frustrating, but they do get a crime stat, and hopefully, when we get AI security that actually functions, they'll just hunt those people down, and it'll become less of an issue because dying is pretty punishing in the game with inventory and all that.
Oh yeah.
I don't think people are going to be doing that when the consequences are they go to prison and then they have to deal with the loss of inventory and everything else that goes with it.
Because the second they do that, and they say they're at Orison, they do that to some random person, all of a sudden, eventually you're going to have NPC law enforcement at the landing zone. They're going to be like, "Hey, stop that!" and actually start intervening.
Right.
Yeah. One other issue
spawn
too.
closets in the game, so they'll be able to automatically spawn security personnel to come take care of things.
Yeah. One other thing too is that I don't like the way they've done the missions for medical assistance, because as it is now, it's a standard kind of mission. So you go down, you request medical assistance, person goes and agrees to it, the mission is now taken off the boards, and so if they just decide to loiter for an hour, if it's the same guy who just killed you who just accepted the mission, you're SOL. Or worse, guy comes over and says, "Hi buddy, let me go and loot your body while you lie their defenses, because you can loot while someone is down," and then leave you for dead. They're like, "Hey, thanks for the free loot, asshole."
No, I've heard a lot of reports of people getting OD'd just so they can be looted.
Yep. So I hope there's some way to mitigate that.
Again, we just need more consequences for actions, other regards, not just dying. And they need to be well thought out and well executed. Not like for instance, if I shoot you accidentally, you should we've gone on rants before about this. If I shoot you accidentally while we're in a party or something, you should have the option to file charges as opposed to not file charges. It'll automatically not file charges if we're in a party, but if we're not in a party, you can make the argument that it should automatically, or maybe, again, it should allow you to at least have the option to press charges as opposed to having the option not to press charges, and if you don't do anything, it'll automatically... What was that?
I believe that automatically it will not press charges. You have to do it. You have to push the button to do it.
Okay.
I'll have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure I saw that happening.
That's still better than what we had previously. So.
Did you have something you wanted to say, Colson?
I was just gonna say I'm interested in what you guys are saying, and those do sound like major issues that definitely need to be fixed. And this being iteration 1, I believe that'll happen. Just from an outside perspective, monitoring a lot of the streaming community. Overall, it seems to be getting a positive.
Overall, it's not pass. Like in general.
Yeah, comparative to it coming out, and just everyone going, "Nope, this is turrets again. This sucks." It seems.
Yeah, no. Overall, it's definitely good. It just has some rough edges.
Yeah.
So my thoughts on it are: number one, I think that people. I don't like that they can just overdose you and loot you, but at the same time, you have to think, how are they going to handle non-lethal takedowns? I mean, criminals have to have a way to disable people to steal, because that's part of the gameplay. So
and bounty hunters too.
Right. So there needs to be a counter to that to some degree, but the option needs to be there, and there are going to be criminals that do that. They just need to make it so it's not so much trolling people, and it's it's intended gameplay instead of people just saying, "Well, I'm going to be a dick," and
I think the problem is it's a one-sided fight right now. There's no counter. Is the problem?
I agree with what you're saying, Data Machine, 100%. But I think one of the easiest ways to do that would be to kind of model what we have nowadays, which is just because I'm jumping ahead of myself here. I think it should be like monitored and unmonitored zones, and I don't mean by like heavy security, but just like there's CCTVs, And if you're a bounty hunter, yes, you have a legal right to be going about your bounty, but at the same time, you don't see bounty hunters taking down their target in the middle of a shopping center. Usually they do it in out of the way places. So I think that should be the gameplay, which is if you're seen in public place administering a knockout to somebody, then guess what? The cops are going to be there, and they're going to be going, "What's going on here?" Whereas if you do it in the back alley, then hey, fair game, nothing happens.
Well, I was talking more broadly about just the way the system works, not specifically about overdosing somebody with a med gun.
May I interject?
Eventually,
Well, I'm applying that in the broad spectrum as well, and not just the med gun, but if you pull out a blackjack and knock somebody over the head in the shopping mall, it should be the same
problem.
They're going to
start running and screaming local security, even if they're gang related. The gang's going to be like, hey, whoa, hey, this is bad for business. We still want to make money.
Pretty much everyone in the area will have specific reactions to it.
Right.
And also,
you should automatically get your crime stat, and security should come after you. And
also,
I totally agree with that.
Jada, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what you were trying to say before is how there's no counter right now to someone just going in and ODing you and stuff, and that
there are
it's a one-sided gameplay loop.
To punish people who are doing that, because like you said, you can't use weapons in an armistice zone. So the only counter, or the only way for CIG to take care of that right now is for the AI to spawn and deal with it.
Yeah.
But
I did actually hear one potential solution that might actually work in terms of just stopping people from running around in the cities and zapping people as soon as they spawn in and stuff, in that to go and overdose someone, you have to use a medical gun on the advanced mode, because you have, so there's essentially two ways to go and administer drugs. One is to run around with pens. Another way is to go and have the medical gun, there is a basic use and an advanced use. Basic use will just go and stabilize the person. So if they're down, if you just run over, let's say if your buddy's in a firefight, you run over, shoot the medical gun at it in basic mode, it'll just go and be like, okay, what do you need at a basic level just to get yourself back up again? And it will try to do that just automatically. Like, oh, hey, you're bleeding a bit, let's apply some of the MediPen stuff. I forgot all the drug names. Hey, you have some leg issues there. It'll automatically identify that stuff, but it won't overdose you. And if you aim it at a normal person and pull the trigger, nothing happens because they're healthy. The third way is to use a multi-tool with the medical attachment, which is essentially just the same as the medical gun in basic mode. So the only real way to overdose someone, the way that people are doing it, is to take a medical gun and put it in advanced mode. Solution there being, make it so that at least temporarily here, until the law system can catch up, advanced mode is disabled in armistice zones. Because that way you can still heal people. If someone trips and falls on their face and they're bleeding out, you can run over and just use either the multi-tool or the basic function of the medical gun and stabilize them. But it won't let you go and put in advanced mode and start overdosing people.
Yeah, I like that potential temporary fix better than just disabling the medical gun in armistice zones.
So I just had an idea. Sorry, go ahead. Finish
I was
up.
just going to say, really, they're just slowly moving towards the point where armistice zone is not going to be armistice. It's going to be like a security-controlled zone.
Yeah.
Where you can do whatever you want, but there are going to be consequences.
Because you're going to have AI and other systems to compensate for the lack of weapons offline areas.
Eventually, I imagine that what I would like to see is, if you're going to go into like a city area, then they have like a no weapons policy. You have to store your weapons in a locker or something, because it doesn't make any sense for you to have a live fire weapon in that environment. Also, in areas where it's not a requirement that you take off your gun, then everybody else is also going to have a gun. So if you go around being a dummy, then people are going to kill you.
Pretty quick, you're going to get consequenced.
Right. So I mean, that is the counterplay. Plus, there's going to be AI and security and all that.
Like say let's use Grimhex as an example here, because it's going to be lawless, right? Everyone's going to be walking around with fully armed, probably.
Right.
You're going to have
back constantly.
And you're going to have probably a Grimhex security equivalent. There, you're gonna have like some pirate gang, whatever, providing security for the place, and you go around start shooting. You all start popping your guns like a psychopath. There, you're not just gonna have the security pirate or whatever. you're gonna have everyone else, just the individuals there that are armed, just gun you down.
Well, and also too, I would say the big worry, especially in a video game environment, to my mind, is it's like, if you have someone, for example, let's say if I'm a bounty hunter, maybe because I'm a bounty hunter, because of my reputation with the advocacy, for example, maybe I'm allowed to bring my sidearm into cities where your average Joe Schmo who just started the game, they're like, hey, no, you can't have that. But because I'm in good standing, I can have that because I've shown, hey, you can trust me. I'm a good guy.
I'd be okay with that. It's
I
basically like
hope for
having
that.
a concealed weapons permit. You've gone
Yeah,
through
exactly.
the
Yeah.
local
Exactly.
government,
Because to my mind, the biggest worry, the biggest concern I have in terms of how, like, the legal system will take place and what should be asked of you prevented is having someone pulling a no Russian kind of thing. To where I mean, literally, to where it's just you just have someone who just walks in and then
just opens fire with a machine gun.
And everyone else is screwed because, hey, they managed to go and get this, but no one else can. Fuck. Yeah. There has to be a way.
But again, that's where
that, or measures in place. Same thing with like preventing a ship from kamikazing itself into a shopping platform kind of thing. There has to be ways to go and prevent that because there is no possible counter for players. If I'm standing there in the Art Court Plaza and someone decides to take their A2 and bomb the fuck out of it, there is no possible counter that I, as an individual player, can do for that. So there would have to be, hey, you're within 20 miles of ArtCorp, or even just ArtCorp itself is just one big city. Hey, as soon as you get within system, you are required to shut down your weapons, like literally power them off. If you power them on, you immediately have fighters coming to your location to go and say, hi, buddy, what you doing?
In the future, maybe it'd be really cool.
To something we talked about a long time ago, it doesn't make sense that we're flying our ships into major metropolitan areas. To me, it would make much more sense if when you got within a certain kilometer distance, basically traffic control says, hey, thanks for visiting. Hit your autopilot and we'll vector your ship into the landing bay, kind of a thing.
Well, and also here's another thing: is I think a lot of these issues, I don't think solved is the right word, but essentially mitigated with AI. And you're at the city, some guy pulls out a machine gun, starts gunning down everyone. Like you have the AI then to essentially to counter
There's always going to be some 12-year-old who's bored on a Saturday afternoon, decides to hell with it, I'm going to go crazy.
And also with the ship thing, with the bombing. I thought it would be cool if you have almost like in real life where you have fighter escorts or the local security equivalent ship escorts that are guiding you to wherever you need to go. And it can vary one ship to 7 ships depending on your reputation. If it's a lower reputation with the city, they're probably gonna have more ships on your ass. Like, hey, if you do something.
Yeah. I had one thing I wanted to bring up that you guys made me think of earlier in the conversation. What would you guys think of if you're in a city? We're talking like major ports with large
New Babbage.
Yeah.
New Babbage, Area
with
18.
major factions involved. What would you think if you do something wrong and you get a crime stat like this isn't just like a generic traffic stop. This is like you're definitely wanted for something major.
Okay,
what would you think?
Like terrorism.
Like terrorism or shooting somebody, that kind of a thing. Not
essentially they freeze your assets in the city, and this way your ship is locked down. Like you can't get to. If you can get to your hangar, they're not going to open the doors. You're essentially locked in the city. You have to find some other means of escape.
Well, absolutely. Thanks for taking my comment there, Mando. That's what I was trying to get to. Is what would you guys think if the local authorities locked down your ship in the port? If you had a ship, if you had landed and it was registered, now you're wanted level in the city. Would you be okay with a gameplay that, hey, that ship's now in lockdown and There's probably, unless you hack it, there's probably not going to be a way to get out of it.
As long as there's a counter to it, it can't just be a sorry, you're just SOL. Obviously you can get in situations where your options are all bad, but you should still have options.
Right, I agree.
Here's they say it's Lorville, right? And say, okay, your ship's, they lock down your ship. They got it in a hangar. They locked it down. You can't get to it. And even if you could get to it, like say there is a way to get to it, they're not going to open the doors. Maybe you can like brute force your way through it or something. But you can also try to leave through the ground entrances, right? Yeah, they're going to be heavily locked down because they're going to have the guards all over the place. But maybe you can stealth your way through the guards, or you can again just brute force it. Just gun down the guards and make a run for it.
Or sneak onto someone else's ship. You stow it away.
Exactly.
They
so
go and take
options
off,
exist.
Happily going in their way. Hey, nice and smooth here, right? I don't want any trouble. Now you just go and let me off at the nearest
holding a quota to their head.
This alive.
Yeah, the option should be sneaking out of the city by other means, or leaving on another ship, whether it's somebody helping you or you sneak on. But
now, one thing
I am
would love to see
in favor of locking down a player's ships or whatever, make it very difficult for them if they go into an area just to misbehave.
Oh yeah,
right.
One thing I would love to see would be let's say, for example, that let's take the example of a you have an A2 coming into Area 18, and you have the ATC goes, hey, by the way, as soon as you essentially hit atmosphere, hey, we see your weapons are live. Please go and disable those and approach on these vectors here to visit the city. And the A2 pilot doesn't power down the weapons. They just keep flying in. Hey, what you doing there, buddy? We're gonna go and send some fighters up to, go say hi to you. Please cooperate with them. And they're showing, hey, they're hostile. Now, obviously, there would need to be some kind of a look at the time frame, but it would be interesting if it's like, oh shit, hey, we have a hostile coming in, and to have around the city, alarms start going off. You start having people running to their ships and taking off, either to get out of there, face the threat, whichever the case might be. I mean, that would be pretty interesting to see those kinds of reactions happening.
I know we talked about this before, but I think they could get around all of those issues by making the norm be to fly with your weapons powered off by default.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
If you have your weapons on, then you should show up as being a potential aggressor.
And the larger your ship, the longer it should take for your weapons to power up and fully charge. And like your capacitors should start at 0 and then go up to their charge levels there. So it's like, if you are charging weapons, for like a Carrack, it's going to take you a good minute to build up that power charge, whereas if I'm in a Aurora or if I'm in an Avenger, it's going to take like 10
follow-on
mechanics problems outside of those zones.
I don't
think
potentially, but
it's too long. I mean, like 10 to 15 seconds, I think is fine, because in a combat situation, you don't want to have to wait, but.
Well, in my mind, the way that those scenarios would run is that if you are just flying around in the black, or if I'm flying around Pyro, or if I'm flying between, so essentially, as soon as I leave a city's zone, my weapons are powered up. And then, hey, okay, so let's say I'm flying from ArcCorp to Microtech. As soon as I am out of ArcCorp airspace, so let's say as soon as I'm out of atmosphere, weapons are powered up. I fly over. I've come out of Quantum. I'm coming into Microtech. As soon as I hit Microtech's atmosphere, weapons powered off. So that's how I'm kind of visioning it. So normally you would still be flying normally with your weapons powered on, but when you're in civilized areas, weapons powered off.
But then now you get into the problem of, like, what about Hurston? Is all of Hurston? As soon as you go into Hurston,
I mean, I'm just saying altitude is an easy way, but as soon as you're within a set distance of the city. It might vary between how big the city is.
But then how do you tell each player, each different location, what that distance is? Like you're talking about
would
multiple
need to be
systems.
communicated. No, that would need to be communicated to the player in some way. Absolutely. I mean, maybe you would just get a calm, hey, you as you're coming in, you get a hail, hi, welcome to such and such place. Please go and power down your weapons. Hey, that's telling me now I need to go and power off my weapons here. Otherwise, as escorts or whoever the local security is will come and find me.
I get that, but then what if you're, say, in the middle of a crisis situation, and you're almost doing an emergency landing type situation, and you just entered Atmo, and now you're like, okay, I made it, but I need to get into my MFDs and start doing some stuff, and you missed that message. Like there should.
I mean that would be potentially possible. I really hate how on one hand I like how they have the comms on the MFDs, but the way they are right now is so fucking clunky.
It is absolutely.
They really need
the whole comms is going to need a overhaul system implementation.
Yeah, I agree that would definitely be an issue.
I'm not saying no to your idea. I just think it would need to be locked down to that same ATC distance. Like, in other words, if you're going into a major faction-controlled area, when you hit their ATC zone, that's when it would be like, hey, in order to come any further, then you turn it off. I'm not fighting you on
and
the
it might be
stuff.
like Grimhex, maybe Grimhex. Heck, why would you ever power off your weapon? It's like no one's powering off your weapons there. No, absolutely.
Morons
that would be something like what I mean.
Because then you're actively engaged in the interaction process, but because you're going in for landing. It's part of your engagement is to land, and that's when they notify you. Like, hey, you power off.
If we do have, and I do like the idea that, hey, when you're a couple miles out even from a major landing zone, you contact ATC or they contact you and go, hey, welcome to such and such place. Please go and give control over to our autopilot system, blah, blah, blah. Then they go and control you. And because also, too, that's going to give me time to go and run around my ship and gather up all that last minute shit I need for when I walk off the ship.
And hide all your smuggle stuff and make sure everything,
hide all my widow and but if it was at that same range, or maybe it's even that, hey, as soon as ATC takes over, ATC powers down my weapons.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're coming in manual, they're going, hey, what the fuck are you doing here? You keep coming in, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, and maybe that's where
and also
if you declare emergency, then you're like, okay, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but we're sending 5 fighters up to escort you, kind of a thing.
Well, also too, maybe potentially, it's like, hey, I've got an emergency. I've lost all control of my ship systems because of whatever, whatever case you might be.
Yeah.
I can't do anything with my ship. It is a ballistic missile. Potentially, and again, this is just a hypothetical pulled out of my ass situation, but you could have, for instance, 2 Cutlass Blacks or two Hurricanes come over with distortion
you got
weapons.
The tow tractor Argo.
Well, yeah, they've got an SRV coming up behind it, but they come over with distortion weapons, hit your ship until all power is off. SRV comes in now and manually grabs your ship. Okay, we're gonna go and take you over to the repair section here and meet you with a full complement of guards as soon as you're down to see what the fuck's going on.
Yeah,
you better have a real good story for this.
Yeah, basically, what happens if you have a problem in your Cessna and try and land next to, land at an Air Force base, kind of a situation.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're probably not going to shut you down. They're probably not going to shoot you down, but you better have a real good story for what's going on to tell those security guys.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we reached that bottom of that hole.
All right.
I will note. So one other thing in 3.15 is we have looting now. So if you're in bunkers or some areas like Security Post Korea, there are boxes, some certain boxes that you can use the interaction system on. Open them up, and there is loot in them, whether that be weapons, armor, ammo, fruit. Apparently, I've seen fruit a couple of times spawn in those, including apparently some as yet otherwise unseen weapons. There's been rumors that the crossbow that CIG have been talking about has been seen. There's rumors that the P8AR, so not the P8 SMG, but the P8AR, which is a rifle that is known to exist for Squadron42.
It is the Marine assault rifle in the Star Citizen universe. Yeah, it's used by the Marine Corps.
Along with apparently the Demon Fang item, which was from the Sitcon pack from how many? It was back when the fucking Carrack was shown, so it was like 3 years ago, I think.
That's the what's from face one, right? The glowing knife.
Yeah, it's the red glowing knife. That's been rumored to have been seen in loot boxes as well. I should know, I have not personally seen either of these 3 items, but it is rumored that they have been seen in.
There's a 4th one. I've heard that they also have one of the rifle Grey Cat utility items.
Ooh.
I think it's the rifle tractor beam.
We are supposed to get the Grey Cat salvage tool in 3.16, which is end of this year. So yeah.
So just to bring up another rabbit hole idea, they're starting to talk about us being able to get more involved in the trading process through selling stuff.
Yep.
When do you guys think we're going to have a capability to sell ships, not necessarily ships that you like go out and gank from somebody, but the ones that you actually buy in game? There's going to have to eventually be a way for you to get rid of those ships off of your inventory.
Didn't they talk about this in CitizenCon? I believe they did.
That's
what I'm asking.
Does anybody know? As far as I heard and as far as I understand it, they talked about being able to sell items in your inventory. So things like rifles, armor, ammunition, that kind of stuff.
I believe
as far as I'm aware, that
there
did not
is
cover
the intention to sell ships, but
down the line,
we don't
yes.
have any details about it right now.
Yeah, okay. down the line, selling vehicles and ships will absolutely be a thing. And I really hope that they'll go one further with repair and be like, hey, here is a ship that I don't know if necessarily it would be if you could repair a destroyed ship. Like there might be different levels of destroyed, to the point where a ship is completely non-functional, not just disabled. I would love it if we so chose, to put the time, the effort, and the credits into restoring a vehicle that we salvage off of a battlefield or something, that we could go and repair it. But at minimum, I would assume that disabled ships, if the crew abandoned ship and you come across the disabled ship, that you would be able to haul it back to a port, restore it, re-register it, you now own that ship.
Yeah. I know you'll be able to do the repair part of it, just because the Crucible is still out there.
Exactly.
We also know that the idea is, at least is planned, because that's the only way players will be able to get their hands on a Bengal, if you have to find them and essentially
right, but
bring them back to life.
It's going to be something that you get to, like, how do I put this? I think that's going to be more like a money sink, in the sense that
it's a special case. The Bengal is a special
case. Right, but I mean the idea of you find something and you can essentially bring this husk of a ship back to life and make it a ship again.
Yes, but my worry is that they would consider that functionality as being unique to the Bengal and not as a functionality of just ships in general. Because I would love the idea that, hey, I found a cutlass or I found a freelancer or something. If I so choose to call up my buddy Bob, who has a tow SRV, and he and his buddies come over and pull this thing out, and then I go and I sink the time and the money into it, I now have a whatever the shippo is.
But now you're getting into a gray area gameplay loop, which is, how do you define what is a real salvage and what is a gang of guys going and ganking somebody's ship and then going, oh no, we found this out in space and we repaired it. Now we want to register it as our own. Like that's going to create some really bad gameplay.
Absolutely, and even not even that too, but also too, how do you get past for example, let's say if I have a Carrack, and my buddy's like, man, I really want a fucking Carrack, and I go, well, here, I can't just give you the ship and claim it because it'll flag it as stolen, but I'll let you go and let me pull everything off of mine. I'll let you destroy it, take the husk, and repair that up, and you pay me a million credits as opposed to the 30 million it would cost to actually go and buy the damn thing, etc.
I think a long time ago, and because of that, it's absolutely subject to change. But a long time ago, they had said that was why they wanted the ship sales to be AI controlled. In the sense that
you'd have to go through a broker or something.
Right. So if your buddy wanted it, what you'd have to do is, the two of you go to the ship seller guy, you sell your ship to him, and then your buddy turns around and buys it off him, right there on the spot before anyone else can. I think that alleviates a lot of those issues. But I like what you're saying about the idea of, you find a really ancient old, Hornet that's essentially like a 66 Mustang. I would have absolutely no problems with players being able to, to put the time and effort and money into that, and then be able to fly that around. Maybe it's not as efficient, as it originally was, just because it's a restoration. But I think it'd be cool gameplay to have that ability. I just don't know how you would limit it to that, that aspect of gameplay.
Yep.
That's cool. I didn't know that they had talked about that during SitCon, so that's something new.
But yeah, just as far as I am aware, they did not specifically mention actual vehicle selling as a part of the initial selling framework they were talking about. That should be coming with 3.16. It would be awesome if it was, but I don't know if game mechanics are fleshed out enough to really warrants being able to sell a ship to another player.
I think we probably won't get anything until after salvage, just because that's going to have such a big impact on how you can go about the process. Because eventually you're going to have to be able to sell your salvage, your salvage units, and then to me, it makes logical sense that the next step is, hey, I instead of stripping this whole thing down, I just drag the whole ship in and go, you want to buy it?
Well, also too, one thing I would also really like to see is, for example, let's say if I'm like, I really, really want to carry it. However, I don't have 30 million or whatever the price down the road is, but
36.
It's gonna have a pretty hefty price tag to it. I don't have 30 million to put into this thing, but me and my 6 friends are looking for something that we can be out in for days and do missions off of, blah blah blah. We really want to carry it. Well, let me go on down to the junkyard here and buy a ruined husk of a Carrack that was salvaged from a war zone and sold to the scrap dealer for, pennies on the dollar. And instead we'll put, it'll take 15 million credits of work and parts and shit to get this thing restored and back to functional shape. She won't be the prettiest thing ever, but she'll be functional, she'll work, and I now have a functioning Carrack. I would really like that idea that maybe I'm not buying, just like in real life, it's like, hey, I might not be looking to buy a vehicle new, but I can buy one that's been, either used, or in Star Citizen, used probably wouldn't be that big of a deterrent at all, but one that's mostly decrepit, restore it for a much smaller amount of the cost, and boom, I now have a functional, if not in the best shape, ship.
I could see that, but I'd also see, less efficiency in the components and the whole structure itself.
Yeah, it should still take, if you were to get a
depending on how much you put into it.
Yeah, I was gonna say there should be no reason why you couldn't fully repair a ship up
Well,
to
exactly.
fun-
Exactly.
fully
You should
functioning.
still be able to get it back to the point of this is a pristine, fully functioning, fully perfectly in shape and usable ship of its class. However, in my mind, to get it to that point, so not just functional, but to get it to pristine levels, as if hey, it just came out of the factory racks. It should cost a somewhat similarly equivalent level of buying it new. Probably a little bit under that by like a couple million or whatever, depending on the ship. But it should cost like 80% of the cost of the ship new should be what it takes you if you wanted to take the husk of this hull, because it's the whole time versus money. Well, exactly. It'll take you time but less money to salvage and build up the husk to get the functional ship. And what you're doing is if I just want to dump money and get the thing new, boom, there you go. Dump money and you're good. But if I'm like want to go and save my wallet here, I put in some time and effort into repairing and refitting this husk of a ship. Hey, cool, I got it for 60% of the price, but it took me 10 hours to go and get this thing back up to functional shape. Something like that.
Yeah. Okay, that's the bottom of my rabbit hole.
But that would all be also too that would be a good way to go and fit both the salvage and repair mechanics into that, to where they'll kind of blend, because it's like, oh hey, we need a such and such part for a such and such ship. Well, hey, let me go talk to my salvage buddy. I call up my salvage buddy. He goes, well, let me check my stockpiles here from everything I've gotten. Oh yeah, I got me one of those and 2 of these and 5 of those. Yeah, I can go and set you up. Boom, there you go.
Also like the idea that it would allow us players to have a secondary avenue of ship progression that isn't solely based on the pricing that CIG decides to have. So in other words, a player who starts out with nothing but an Aurora has a different option path to upgrade his ships. Maybe he doesn't have the prettiest one, but he's able to, move up those grades.
He finds a freelancer wreck.
Right.
And
exactly.
every spare cent, it's like, okay, I gotta get my food and my drink. I gotta go and fuel up my Aurora here. But every cent I get after that is going to patching up that freelancer there.
Right. And it's not
maybe.
I was going to say the interesting thing about the salvage and repair mechanics is that, I mean, the gameplay implications are amazing. I love the potential. We don't know how it's going to function yet, but I love the idea that you could basically increase the number of ships that you own and operate just by finding wrecks and salvaging components off of them to put on the ships that you do own or that you decide to repair and stuff like that.
Or use them as spares.
A great example is the Star Runner. I have one, and the shields on it are really crappy. But the Defender, the Banu Defender, has a really good shield system that fits into the Star Runner. I really want that shield system, but I don't want to have to go and buy a 3 million. I think it's 3 million. I might be talking out my ass, but a $3 million ship just to get that shield generator.
Yeah.
And you can't buy the shield generator because it's a Banu one in the stores. So I'm totally looking forward to being able to go find a derelict, damaged Defender and strip that shield generator out of there. Like that. That's
absolutely.
I'm so looking forward to that.
I'm just hoping so that would definitely that will definitely be a option to do. I'm just hoping, because I will note for all 2 of our viewers here that we are doing a lot of theory crafting here. In terms of like us talking about being able to build a ship up from a wreck to a functioning ship, that's completely out of our own ass. It would be awesome if it would happen. CIG has kind of teased the idea before, but It was years ago. We don't know if that's going to be the case. Just wanted to put that out there real quick.
And, a bit of a disclaimer. This is all speculation.
Star Citizen, and we're theory crafting. Like that is what Star Citizen is.
Mostly.
I mean, anyway. we're getting there. We're slowly but surely we're
true.
It's like if we're on an airplane,
we moved out of the basement and we're in the living room now.
Well, I would say the airplane is just starting to tilt back a bit in preparation for actually getting in the air.
I wouldn't go that
We're
far.
not a public access channel in Mom's basement. We're in the living room.
It's a very long runway, though. A very long runway.
I would say that the plane is loaded and we're getting ready to leave the terminal. We're not even to the runway yet.
I would say we haven't even boarded the plane yet, but
there's a plane? My God.
We're in the airport. We just got through security.
Oh, by the way, one other thing I just thought of to go back a couple of steps to the bunker loot. One interesting thing is that there has been, I've seen these items personally. There have been some items found in the loot that are apparently so the item itself, it has no use, and it says like I think I had found some like computer boards, and it was like these are some boards commonly used in the electronics.
Yeah.
So I don't know if those are just meant to be like, oh, this is the generic stuff you pick up just to go and sell. Will there be some kind of a crafting use for them? Is there going to be some kind of use for repairing ship modules?
Well, remember how we've seen previous sitcoms, we've seen the missions where, like, go to the crashed satellite and pull out the comms board.
Yeah.
So those might
maybe
just be...
it's a blank one of those.
Yeah,
something.
Exactly.
I mean, hopefully they've done enough foresight and planning that all the commodities that are in the game have some purpose besides just being able to sell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Eventually,
I'm pretty sure we're gonna find shit that will pretty much, except for like one or two esoteric uses, is pretty much just sell it. Or
you can
alternatively
find,
shove it in your hangar.
Commodity items in the bunkers right now that, I mean, I don't even know if you can sell them right now, but
no, there is no selling functionality in 3.15.
Now's when you're supposed to yell immersion camp.
Have anything, any other use than to sell. I mean, maybe you can eat them for, sustenance.
Oh no, you can't eat them. You can't eat them. There's like hydration values and food values and shit.
Okay. Yeah.
The question is, why would you? Okay. Yeah, there's and you also from what I can tell, it's pretty much like here's an item that you can sell in the loot, because obviously, I think 3.16 is when you can sell FPS items and weapons and such.
Now, one thing though that's
obviously that's not yet.
So. With looting bunkers, is that many items are not easily portable. By which I mean, for example, let's say if I find a torso armor, and I'm like, hey, I really like this torso armor. As it is right now with the system, you would not be able to fit it for 90% of torso armors. I'm assuming there might be one or two that would, but if I have a heavy backpack on, so one of the Novikov backpacks, sorry, that torso armor is too big, can't fit in it. Even if you were to like bundle it down or anything like that, it won't fit. So at best, what you can do is have it in a box that you hold. Because when you put it in the road, it becomes this box. Put that box somewhere, and as you go through, stack all these boxes up by the door, and then individually move all these boxes from the door to your ship. It's very pedantic.
Clunky.
Yeah, it's very clunky. And honestly, the inventory system as a whole is very, very clunky, and it feels very chore-ish.
I was just going to ask you guys, what's been your take on the interaction system? Not necessarily the mechanics, but more the UI.
It's clunky as fuck.
So Tier 0 is definitely clunky. It's functional, but there's still a lot
it's
of bugs,
functional.
And
I'll say this for it. I will say it is nice to be able to just kind of drag and drop, but at the same point, that means that it can take if you had a very specific loadout that you want to rebuild from the items you just have stored in your local inventories. Now, hey, I like this stuff, this armor. I've bought 6 pairs of it. It could take you if you don't have all your shit kind of down for what you want and where you want it. It could easily take you 20-30 minutes just to re-equip yourself, and that's not even including going to the store and rebuying stuff.
I mean,
and that's after every death. So, but one huge thing, and one thing too, for those who might not have caught it, and it actually took, I didn't really catch this until someone else pointed it out to me. But people were like, "Hey, how come we didn't see a preview of server meshing? How come we didn't hear about any progress on server meshing and stuff?" And it's like, the inventory system update was a update to server meshing. The new inventory system is so that it will integrate with server meshing.
Yeah, there's not like a thing to see. It's just things that you can now do that you couldn't do before that are server meshing.
And that, honestly, that's the biggest issue with server meshing, is that can they make a framework that'll do server meshing? Absolutely. It's making every other system plug into it and work alongside of it. That's the real issue.
That and shards.
Yes. But so with the inventory system, so it's clunky as shit, unfortunately. There are items kind of just gets like randomly thrown into a large pool. So let's say, for example, I'm at Microtech and I go and I buy some armor. That armor, it's not like all my armor is going to be in one section and all my weapons in another section. It's all just going to be whatever I bought last or acquired last or put in there last. It'll just so it's completely random.
So it's kind of is it in a chronological order of what you placed in the inventory?
Yeah, okay. The last thing you bought will be towards the bottom.
There are filters, and you can go. Actually, I can. I'm actually in game right now in the PTU. So I can show.
Screenshot it.
Hold on, it's not detecting the game. Okay, let me see if. Okay, so it should be showing the game here.
Just move your icon. It's not showing anything. Give me a sec.
Do you see me?
Give me a second. I said I will.
Oh, it's been 2.
Alright, give me multiple seconds.
1, 2, 3.
Interesting enough, I was in a server a couple days ago, and one of the CIG devs came in to test some inventory stuff, and he said in chat that there are some updates that they've made to the inventory system, and they know it's rough right now, but there's
they're obviously aware of all this stuff.
Yeah, and they're looking forward to being able to release those to the PTU. I'm not sure he said they would be released to the PTU. I'm not sure, but anyway, they've done work on it. Them in the development process than what we have right now. It just hasn't been thoroughly tested enough for us to get our hands on it yet.
Yeah, Mano, do you see the stream at all here? It should be just on the channel here.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I'm seeing it now. I'm just going to put it full screen and have...
So right now I'm wearing the armor. I bought this at Area 18. So, and you got helmet, torso, arms, legs, undersuit. So the way it works is, let's say if, for example, if I wanted to go, let me go. If I wanted to go and equip a different helmet, so like the Arrow helmet here, they just drag and it'll highlight. Okay.
I'm only getting a loading screen.
Oh.
I'm seeing it.
Are you sure you're on the right thing, Mando?
Yeah. No one else here is streaming, so.
Yeah,
Being
on
paused.
the YouTube, it's just showing the square boxes that we see in the Discord channel. It doesn't load the actual video.
Yeah, let me.
A YouTube stream thing. I don't know.
Alright, try sharing again.
Try changing the.
Probably because the window you're using Stream Elements, aren't you, Mando?
Yeah.
Or Streamlabs, yeah.
Streamlabs.
It's probably the window that you have selected. If you do pop out, then
No, I got it working. It got working now.
okay.
Okay, so you do see my character.
It was really just loading because I think I was running too many things. So.
No, but like so if I re-equip my original helmet here, do just drag, drop, boom, that's it. It's equipped. It is a lot faster from how the previous inventory system was, where you'd sometimes have to wait like a minute for changes to go and do. So that's definitely nice.
I will say that if you want to equip things and you don't like drag and drop, you can just right click and there's a menu that pops up. You can just choose to equip.
Yep. Sometimes I've seen some issues with that, especially if it's, for example, like a med pen, because you have multiple levels there. Also, as you can see with what I've just did, I opened up this backpack here, so I could go and put items into the backpack because the backpack has its own inventory. So if I wanted to put a multi-tool attachment here, well, sometimes
it's supposed to work anyway.
So as you can see, the inventory system has some issues here. One big issue is that splitting stacks. So for example, if I were to, let's find something that has a couple multiples here. So as you can see, I have a lot of guns. As you can see, everything is just kind of randomly dumped into the. There's no real rhyme or reason here. I've got to have some magazines here or something. Okay, so let's say, for example, so I've got 10 multi-tool attachments here. If I right-click, so you have the option to split a item from a stack. In this case, it's cutting off part of the window, which that's another issue there. But if you do it, 9 times out of 10, it just goes right back in. Which means that you can't go and split that into. So if I want to take one tractor beam attachment and put it in my backpack, so that way, if I were like, hey, I want to go and take a multi-tool with me, but I don't want to go and have it on my hips. I want to have my medical gun on one leg, and I want to go and have my pistol on my other leg here, like so. I can go and put the multi-tool and its attachments in the backpack and carry that off wherever I want. Or I can put ammunition in there, so you can see I've got, for the medical tool, I've got a refill for it. So you can similarly put ammunition into your bags, into your leg armor. Now that does mean that it's not going to be usable to you. So if I were to, you can see, for example, I've got 2 magazines for my FS9 light machine gun that I've got on my back. So if I were to fire the magazine in the gun, reload, fire this one, reload, fire this one, and if I had 5 magazines in here, I can hit R all day and nothing's going to happen, because I will have to open my inventory, pull the magazine out, and then put it on my character for my character to then be able to reload from it. Or you could also just drag it to the gun.
Okay, that was my concern, and I'm a little annoyed at that.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense just because it's like, realistically, if I have ammo in my backpack in a real world scenario,
you have to go into your backpack and get it.
We're shooting. You're gonna have to put the bike down and open up. Now, one thing that would be cool is if I was in a party, and this would obviously need some more fleshing out, but it would be interesting if, let's say, if I have spare ammo in my backpack, if I'm in a party and I'm clearing a bunker with my friends, and one of them goes, hey, I need a med pen, hey, I need some ammo, if they could open up my backpack and grab some out, if I so chose to let it, or maybe there would be some pouches are externally available and some only you can access. Some shit like that might be interesting.
Arma does that. It'll allow others to go into your backpack, but not into your worn inventory. In other words,
stuff on your person.
They can't dig into your uniform or your body armor, but they can get things out of your backpack.
Which I think is a good system.
On the note of the stacking, so if you're like, hey, I want to go and take one flare with me here. But you bought 100 of them at once, you can go and put one in your hand, and then your character will actually go and hold it in their hand. Now, bear in mind, you might have to go and fuck around with the camera, but you can then take the item from your hand, put it in the backpack, and I now have one flare in my backpack. So that is a workaround for that. It's clunky, but it works.
One of the biggest things that I want to see with inventory is an itemized list of the things that you have equipped on your body, so it's not you have to get the camera in the right spot and drag
something like how the old menu was, obviously on the new system, but something where it's just like, here's the slot, here's the slot, here's the slot.
Yeah,
you need what's called a paper doll, which is essentially your body mannequins, put out, and it shouldn't be that you need to select the front left side pouch as versus the rear left pouch. That should just be like little squares that you can just drop into that are next to it, so that you're not having to sit there and mouse over exactly the right one. Like
they could do it in some pretty intuitive ways. Like if you look at the way that they have the weapon customization, where you click on one item slot and then it shows you different options for it. They could do something like that, where on the side with the med pins, you just click on where a med pin would go, and it'll just show you all the slots that
everything that fits in that slot.
Fit in the med pin area will show up.
Yeah.
Same with like weapons or your ammunition. There are definitely ways, and they've probably worked on some of that already. We don't really know because they don't have it shown, but that's what I would
also too. So one thing to know, as we were talking about earlier with people overdosing players in cities and stuff, let me go and show how you would combat that as soon as I buy these supplies up here. So these are all the different pens here, and it tells you what each of them does. So generally speaking, what I normally carry, so it's, as far as I'm aware, because I haven't dug too deep into the medical stuff specifically, if you wanted to just revive someone, it's a med pen. You shove a med pen into them. And my mouse has stopped working.
Are you able to use med pins on other people?
Oh, no, it's probably a 30K. Are you able to what?
Are you able to use med pins on other people?
Yes. So I was able to, at one point, I found someone who was stuck. They were not hurt, but they were in a down state. But what you would do is you would pull the med pen out, just like you normally would when you're holding it in your hand. If you left click, you use it on yourself. If you right click, you use it on the person in front of you. And it's literally just that easy. So you can pull out a med pen, walk over to your buddy and go, you're good. But it would seem I am stuck in the menu here because it won't. Like I'm seeing buttons.
Welcome to the Shopping with Cam show.
But yeah, I apparently cannot move.
Did you press enter?
No.
Did you press shift?
Mouse is not moving. Like I'm highlighting things on the menu.
Yeah, it's really functioning weird. Like it's working, but the mouse cursor. Can you like move, like walk
around?
Can
you try?
Nope. I'm hitting my movement keys and nada.
Try moving your invisible mouse to the X on the top right screen.
I've tried.
Okay.
I've tried.
You can't find
it. I've not seen it highlight at all. I've tried hitting escape. Nothing. I actually had.
What about
this happen.
Do the emotes still work? Will those break you out of things? In the past, they
did.
I cannot hit enter. I can open up the console, but that's it.
Maybe try
I did have this happen before. Now, what was interesting about it was that when that happened, I was in a ship. I was in a Mercury Star Runner, if I believe I remember correctly. And literally the same kind of thing. I could not move. I could not get up out of the seat. I could not hit enter and use chat. I was fully locked out of the game until I quit and reloaded. So,
which seems like you might need to do that here too.
Yep. Now, I will say, I believe in most cases, if you do go and encounter something like that, is if you Alt F4 and reload, it should ideally put me right exactly back where I was standing.
No, that only works if you're in a party with people in the server. Once you Alt F4 or quit when you're in single player, then it just counts you as disconnected, and when you log back in,
Because
it'll
when
put you in a half.
I did it with my ship, now bear in mind I was in the pilot seat of the ship, so I did not lock. I Alt F4'd because I remember I had been quantum jumping to Crusader. I pulled up to Crusader and I was like, cool, let me go and move over to my next nav point. Why am I not moving? Same thing, I was stuck. I Alt F4'd, rejoined, started the game back up, and then it put me right back in the cockpit of my ship, staring at Crusader, and I was just able to go from there. So I am reloading now. We shall see.
Generally speaking, the game counts an Alt F4 as just a exit or a quit command.
Yeah. I mean, either way, I'm in an armistice zone, so like inventory
Yeah.
wise, I won't lose anything, so that's good.
True.
But it is a pain in the fucking butt losing shit. So also too, don't wear subscriber gear or any of that unique shit unless you're willing to lose it. Because there is no way currently to get that shit back unless you do a character reset.
Yeah, character reset's the only way at the moment. And they are aware that it's a problem, and they're trying to come up with a fix. But
I'm a little surprised though that they didn't have like it's not like this was a thing that snuck up on them. They knew this was coming, so I am a little surprised that they did not have a solution already in mind.
Well, I mean, maybe they did, but it could be a tech limitation. It could be like a persistence
true.
thing. It could be that they just don't have the people to focus on doing it to make it work correctly at the time. So
true. Still loading.
All right, guys, I've really enjoyed this conversation, but I've got to head out.
All
right. Don't die.
See you
so
later.
I awoke in a bed in the station. However, all my gear is exactly.
All right. Well, what about after action report sitcon?
Okay, so pretty much we already reviewed it last week, but as a whole, like essentially post mortem, what did everyone think of CitizenCon and how did the community handle it? I've been seeing a lot of the big name streamers and YouTubers are very like disappointed with it. I would say.
That's I'd agree that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. What's interesting though is that so I definitely would agree that there's a general attitude of disappointment with it. At the same point, though, when a lot of major complaints about sitcon have been that, hey, how come they're showing us things that might not be in the game for years, or they're making a mission up as just for the sitcon event, and this isn't a real mission that's going to be in the game, stuff like that. CIG goes, okay, no problem. Let's show you the stuff that's actually coming, relatively soon here and is actual real stuff. How come you didn't show us anything flashy? Where's all the flashy stuff?
Yeah.
What the fuck? You can't win. Like, to
damn if you do, damn if you don't. Which, I thought it was a good CitizenCon. We gave it, I guess, a
there was
thumbs up
last week. A lot of good stuff shown.
Yeah. Again, I'm a fan of all the technical details. So like people like Noobifire who were saying stuff like, they went too much into the technical detail they didn't need to. I'm like, that's exactly what I was hoping for, and I got my wish. So
how dare
you?
Well,
one of the other things that I've been kind of thinking as I'm watching these shows is the fact that it also seems that it's more the big time streamers that are showing the frustration with lack of content. But I think that's partially because they are the streamers and they want a lot of that B-roll flash to be able to discuss and talk about, and they didn't get that. So I think part of the frustration is on their side and not necessarily the whole community. But
yes, I would agree. I agree.
On a personal level, I do somewhat agree that I agree that it was less flashy, and I do think that it could have used a little bit more. But overall, I also agree that it was a good show because I didn't want a whole bunch of flash and flare.
Yeah.
So to me, they I guess in a spectrum, there would have been like, there's the bottom end and the high end. To me, they were on the bottom end of the middle. Like, they could have done a little bit more, but in general, it was.
Oh, they could always do a little bit more. I thought it was definitely a better show than previous years. I thought there was a lot of improvements.
One thing that definitely impressed me was the clouds we saw. In the mission.
As you're saying that, I have the CitizenCon clouds on the screen.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time last session talking about that. That seemed
for good reason. For good reason.
A lot of people like the clouds, and not just us too. I'm hearing that from pretty much everybody in the community that's speaking publicly about it.
You were talking about how they looked realistic to when you were in the when you were jumping through them.
Oh yeah. Like having experience actually jumping through clouds in free fall. Like, to me, what I was seeing on screen, I was like, wow, I feel like I'm back in free fall. Like, that's how well they're nailing.
Free ball. Wait, what?
Mm-hmm. And just so you know, Cam, we had you yell immersion
basically
at that
your
point.
next mission.
Yeah.
Immersion. Wait, hold on. Huh, that's weird.
We need to get a soundbite of you saying immersion so that we can use it.
Okay, question. So, you have access to the PTU, right?
I do not, no.
I do, but I haven't gone into it.
Okay. So what's weird is that, and this could just be me, but it seemed like in the PTU, they had gone, so we've had, up until now, 2 utility slots, one on each leg, and then you have a sidearm slot on your right leg. It had seemed for a while that the pistol had gone and became a utility item in terms of the slots it can use. In that it seemed, at least for me, in many of my tests, that you could have either the medical gun and a multi-tool and a pistol, or a pistol and a medical gun, but not all three. However, I've just right now equipped a pistol and a medical gun on the same leg. So I don't know if that was an oversight and I got fixed or what, but because ideally you should be able to have 2 utility items.
It's probably a glitch in the sense that they had to enable the medical gun, but then they probably didn't go in depth into how it interacts with the other items, and so the system's going, it. Oh yeah, I've been told to allow this, so I guess now there's 3 items, or 3 slots.
Yeah, but I definitely liked it, and I do love that the multi-tool as a thing exists, just because it's going to be so great to be able to be like, hey, I might not have the best tool for the job, but I've got
you have a tool for the job. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got just I would love to see like a little like an attachment box you could put on your armor at some point, and it's literally just a little kit, a little box that holds all the multi-tool attachments.
That'd be nice.
You unzip that,
like a little, essentially like a little fanny pack that you can place on your character. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just holds one of each multi-tool attachment.
Like a hard case or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, Kim, it's not the best choice. It's Spacer's choice.
Oh god. I still have not beaten that game.
Neither have I.
So to tie into the SitCon, when they released the 400i, they also, or sorry, not the 400i, but the Liberator. There is some verbiage in the Liberator talking points on the page that says that it will be able to fit the Anvil Atlas platform chassis, which currently is the Ballista. So what's being thrown around in the community is that they think that the next vehicle to come out, which also, if you remember, they had a little thing where they wanted us to vote on future designs.
Right. So
and one of those
this
looks like a Ballista.
So this is the voting thing. I have it on the screen right now. And last year, we not last year, 2 years ago, we had a voting thing as well, which is how we ended up with the Xi'an Raylan and the Tavaran Talon fighter and the Rock, I think, or the Rock DS.
Yep.
So if you look at that image that you're showing, the second from the left, switched it.
It should switch back in a few seconds.
The second from the left, bottom one, is basically a ballista without the ballista missiles.
Yeah.
So people are saying that they think the next vehicle is going to be either a medical, just because of all the medical play that's coming in, or a troop transport version.
I would love both. Now, I would hope, though, that if we do have another ground vehicle, I'm hoping that it won't necessarily be the ballista size. Now, if it's a medical one, I could definitely see that being a ballista, just because it's like even for the bed, you would have to have like supporting electronics and bullshit for it. I would still ideally like it to be the size of the Ursa, but
I don't think that's going to be realistically feasible.
I mean, yes and no.
No, by the way, I agree with you. I want more Ursa-sized vehicles. I just don't think like a medical or something like other than any utility-based vehicle would not be that size.
Yes, which is Ursa size. So they've already shown that they'll consider at least some.
Actually, the Rock DS, yeah.
Yeah, the Rock.
Because the normal Rock is smaller.
It would depend, and it could be too. It's like, oh, hey, it's halfway between the ballista and the Ursa. Some shit there. It doesn't necessarily have to be literally like a ballista where they just ripped the guns off and threw a bed in there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
well, here's the thing. I would be fine with that if we also got one of the top two for the ground vehicle, because that first off, I love Jeeps, so I love that first one for B1, I guess. A B2, it's a little tall, just if I'm judging the wheel size correctly.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to see the top one, just because we already have so many Cyclone variants.
I would love to see
here's the thing, I would love to see that as like a civilian vehicle. It's not meant to be anything other than you just drive it around a city or something, and there's streets and stuff like that. But
I want to see an
later down the line.
Cyclone. Like a 2 to 4 person ground vehicle that it has its own
Ursa Rover.
Well,
no, more like the troop transport hog from Halo 3.
Able to hold 2 to 4 people.
More like the troop transport hog.
I want a non-origin G12. I really get puzzled by the G12. One, why did Origin ever even make this thing? Two, why the fuck did the military ever even buy it? But whatever.
Oh, now you're trying to make sense out of it. You're gonna.
Yeah.
You're bound for a life of misery, son.
Oh, that was already a foregone conclusion.
Yeah. Personally, what I want to see is, I think that an Ursa Rover with a medical bed caveat would be really good. By caveat, what I mean is, I think ground vehicles should have a feature that is not necessarily a tier, but like a sub-tier level, in the sense that it won't do any healing at all, but what it does do is let you transport the individual a distance or time before they go further down the hurt ladder, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in
No,
other words,
I get
it's
what you're
not
saying.
going to even heal you, but it will let you transport them to the ship where you have, you
So
know,
it stabilizes
your
them,
tier capable
essentially.
bed. Yeah. That's what I'd like to see. And to me, you could also fit that into, like, if you did go the ballista size, you could actually combine it so the ballista, you know, ballista is the wrong word for it, but, you know, the IFB version might have one single stretcher position
Right.
for that
It can have like a
medical
size.
recovery.
It can have a tier 3 bed or something even.
Not even a tier 3. It's
fucking
just that
Terrapin
same
variant.
It's that same. It doesn't do any medical other than stabilize. But then
I mean,
it
that would
has
essentially
6
then be a
crew
tier
positions.
4 bed. I mean, that would essentially then
Yeah,
be a tier 4
right.
bed. Which I don't necessarily know if I like the idea of them making just a totally new bed variant that would only stabilize and not, because realistically that would be what the Cutlass Red should have in that case then, because it's meant to just be an ambulance. It's not meant to be going in and really, you know, fixing you up. It's just meant to go and stabilize you and transport you to the
until you
actual
can get to a
facility.
hospital. Yeah.
But then what you're saying is that there can be absolutely no ground vehicles that have a basic carry capacity. You're going to have only a medical version of a ground vehicle.
You could go and have a vehicle that's transporting wounded. Just to my mind, and I think what CIG is aiming for is that you have, of course, the tier 1 beds, the tier 2, the tier 3. After the tier 3 beds, in terms of medical care, after that point, you then go to the FPS equipment.
Right. And what I'm saying is,
He's saying he pretty much wants a stretcher
the
that you
tier
would
4
treat.
doesn't even do that. All it does is just stop the damage from continuing. It doesn't do any healing. It doesn't do any repair.
How is that any different than the hand tools then? In which case, why would
Because
this
the
thing
hand
even
tools
exist?
can actually do healing. Like, you can actually negate effects. Maybe not well, maybe only short term, but you can actually, you know, med pen somebody and they're a little bit better. Whereas the stretcher that's just in the corner, all it's going to do is just stop his timer or slow the timer down.
But why would it?
While you transport?
If it's
you have
just
somebody
a
in the
stretcher,
back,
why would it have any
let me
effect on
finish.
them at
Can
all?
I finish? What I was trying to say is, while he's in the back laying on that stretcher and not only the timer is slowed down, that's where, if you have somebody with a med pen or you know, the med gun, can actually maybe administer a little bit. But if that person isn't there, then that guy is actually not healing at all. But he has that time to be transported to the ship. If you don't have that, then there's no vehicles
That just seems
that can
really
transport.
convoluted for an issue that already seems solved by what CIG has in game.
But they don't.
I don't
That's the whole point I'm getting at, is they don't have it solved, because right now there is no medical vehicle, and if you go the route that they've structured for ships, that means that you can only have specific medical vehicles, and therefore,
yeah, that's kind of the whole point of them.
But okay, so what you're saying is that, you know, if you had
what CIG is saying is that there are dedicated vehicles for certain tasks, and outside of that, there might be utility items you can throw on a ship that might add some certain functionality. And they did, now I will note, they did talk years back, so this is all completely in the realm of theory crafting, because you don't know if they're still going to go the same way. But way back when, they had talked about it being a thing that if you have, for example, a Caterpillar, hey, I've got spare cargo here, that you would be able to put, for example, a tier 3, you know, at the time, medical beds didn't exist, but that you'd be able to put a medical bed or some medical equipment in the cargo grid of the ship and have it function at a very low level.
Well, what they actually were saying was you're going to be able to have a medical module for the Caterpillar, one of those sections.
No. Okay, Caterpillar was a bad example. Let's say the Mercury Star Runner. They had talked about, in a cargo grid, being able to put functional items that would then go, and obviously they take up some of your cargo grid, so you can no longer put cargo there. But the trade-off being, you now have this additional functionality, whether it be prisoner pods, whether it be medical equipment, or something else.
Right. No, I get what you're saying, and I actually think I'd be okay with that. But the reason I don't think that'll happen, or it's only going to happen in very limited functionality, is because then same argument, which is then you're basically, what's the purpose of a cutlass red if you can have that same functionality in a bed in this Mercury Star Runner? Granted, yes, you do lose a little bit of that cargo, but essentially there's no reason to buy the cutlass red. I mean, potentially you could fit more beds in a MSR than you could in a cutlass. So,
well, why does it have to be one or the other? Why not have both options?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you have both options, then you negate. In other words, if you enable the Star Runner or any other cargo ship to put a bed in, even if you're losing that cargo, you are then obsoleting the other small-time medical ships. Like, think about the cost effectiveness. Do I want to buy I'm just picking a random number here. Do I want to buy a Cutlass Red for 1 million credits that can only do medical gameplay, or do I buy an MSR for 2 million that, depending on what I want to do, can do haul cargo, or I can slap in some med bays and I can carry 6 people instead of, the
I think
Red
we're just
2.
going to have to agree to disagree on this one.
Okay.
Well, you can make the same argument against all the against the Avenger Titan and the Avenger Stalker and the Cutlass Black and the Cutlass Blue with the prisoner pods.
But those aren't. They haven't confirmed.
Heck, I think the Avenger Stalker how many prisoner pods does the Blue have?
The Blue has a lot. I think
the Blue, I thought,
isn't it only like 8? No, it's
originally it was 8.
I
think they may have they upped it because they're using those new ones now that are in the Caterpillar prisoner mission.
They? Okay.
But the Stalker still uses the old ones.
Like 3 or 4. Of course, they've the same thing. They've gone through iterations, because at one time you had 3 on each side, and then they changed it up to, I think it was 4 on one side. And it's been so long since I've been inside my own that I don't know. But it's, again, yes, you're absolutely right. There are other arguments, but my whole point is just that if you had a bed that doesn't do anything except slow the timer down, I don't think that breaks other ships.
Either way, like I said, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree and move on from this one.
No, I'm okay with that. I have to be right always.
Okay, the Stalker has 6 prisoner pods, 3 on each side.
Okay, now here's something though. Here's just a random thing out there. So the Pembroke Armor. So this is the heat resistant armor. So it's been confirmed in 3.15. We have the new Pembroke Armor. And so what it is that it is now visually distinct from the Novikov armor. Before it was just a literally red painted Novikov armor for the heat resistance, Novikov being the cold resistant armor. Now it is a actual heat resistant armor. And it had like all this padding and like it has like a golden visor and shit. But what's interesting is that on it, very prominently displayed on the chest, is a winch, or what appears to be a winch. You have a spool of cable and it's hooked to itself. I'm hoping, and again, let's light up the theory crafting lights here, but I'm hoping that would mean that they might be looking further into the idea of rappelling and having that as a gameplay feature.
You and your mad rappelling dreams. We'll get it. No, I hope so.
It only makes sense that you're going to be able to rappel and winch people out of caves. So.
Well, and they showed it off in the Carrack Carrick
the commercial
teaser video, but bearing in mind that those are pure just advertising and not actually representative of gameplay necessarily, unfortunately.
Yep.
But I do want to see, especially given that we do also now have caved entrances that you can fly ships into and stuff. It's like, hey, if I'm driving my Ursa rover around and I come across, ooh, hey, here's a cave entrance that you could fly a ship into. Let me go and attach my winch and down I go and whee! There you go. Now you can explore it.
Emergent gameplay.
Well, not just that, but also think about major metropolitan areas being able to rappel off of towers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Land on rooftops.
Urban gameplay there. Urban warfare.
I mean, look at like New Babbage. Imagine if you were exploring some of the
towers,
like some of the towers and stuff there. If you're up at the Aspire Grand, hey, I got to go get down there. Woo, off I go. I have long thought we need to have an external entrance exit to the Aspire Grand anyway, just like we do at the Commons.
Yeah, because there is a rooftop. All of the main buildings that you can land on, like Area 18 and what's this, Aspire Grand, all of them have rooftop landing pads, but no means to get to them from the ground.
Yes.
Despite there being a modeled elevator and everything. So.
Someday. I mean, that's an easy fix. All they do is, an internal tweak, and suddenly the elevator goes up instead.
Well, at least with with all of them, actually, they already have elevators in those buildings. You just need to add a option and obviously a animate and all that, and boom, take the elevator. And they already have it with Orison, Green Circle. You can actually go to the rooftop landing pad.
Yep.
So.
Well, my time is getting somewhat short, but you guys want to do a wrap up, or?
I can't wrap.
Just on the topic of those vehicles, you guys want to kind of like give a vote onto those, like what vehicles should we?
I want to see just more ground vehicles in general, but that's just me.
The same here. Because here's the vote so far. 53% of them are for option A, which is an explorer ship.
Yep, not surprised.
I know, right? 18% is for ground vehicle option B. 13% is for ground hover vehicle option C, and 16% is for the bomber ship. Now, some of the bomber ship designs look great. Looks very, I want to say maybe Tavarin or Xi'an. Same with the hover vehicle.
The bombers.
But I think I definitely want one of either B or C, really.
One thing I actually just thought, something that would be interesting is on the note of ground vehicles sharing the ballista frame. It would be really cool, in my opinion, to see a vehicle like that. So it's very similar in size to the ballista's frame, and the entire point of it is that it's modular. Is that it has a utility mount on there, and you can go and throw a mining laser on there. You could throw a salvage tool on there. You could go and throw a tractor beam on there. You would have tools for all these different kinds of jobs, and you outfit the vehicle as you want and load it up in your ship, and off you go.
I want kind of the same thing, but in a different way, which is I want a modular flatbed, pickup truck with being able to basically put the box on the back, and that box has different, there's different box configurations. So there's the mining box, there's the repair box, there's the cargo box. Like it just lets you do those different things.
One of the Cyclones is already like that, but the box just flies out everywhere.
Well, it's supposed to hold cargo, but that's it.
Yeah, and it's only one SKU, so I mean that's basically personal items, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's like you could outfit like you and your buddy, and that's it.
Which to me, for the size of the Dragonfly, to me it's perfectly acceptable and makes sense. But I would like, basically like a 4-wheel drive, or even maybe, a 6-wheel drive utility vehicle that maybe doesn't even have weapons. Like, it's just literally a flatbed that you can put the different modules on the back for what you want to do.
I'm looking back at the image from 2 years ago, and I'm like, man, it's hard to believe the Talon, the Raylin, and the Rock DS were all there. We actually got them. The only thing we don't have is the small refinery ship.
Well, when you say the Rock DS, did we really get anything?
I know, but at least they showed off vehicles here that they were concepting, and we actually got it. That's my point.
I will say their explanation for, hey, we meant to drop the Rock and the Rock DS at the same time, and only because of some technical issues the DS was delayed. If they had dropped at the same time, I feel
it probably would have been more detrimental to the Rock DS.
At the DS.
I think they're full of shit on the DS.
Yeah, I'm not really buying it.
I think that excuse is
it's a broken design.
Void because because it would have just made the Rock DS even worse in the eyes of the community, and how people would just flocked even more to the normal one.
If they were just to go and expand the cockpit into something like what the Cyclone has, but enclosed. If they were to just make it so the beam operator, it's fine for me that it's a 2-person vehicle, but
you need a second mining slot though. Because I mean, think about the gameplay.
I'm fine with it, as stupid as it would be. I'm fine with them going, okay, here is the vehicle cockpit. It's a 2-person cockpit. On the left-hand side, you have the driving controls. On the left-hand side, you have the mining controls. I'm fine with that. It would be silly, but it's like, hey, it was designed as a 2-person vehicle, but having the person externally mounted on the vehicle, it literally feels like it's an afterthought and no reputable, like just in terms of in game. If I am living in the universe and someone goes, hey, we need you to go to the quarry and mine out some whatever the fuck in this thing, I'm gonna be like, get fucked. Well, like me, no one would be using this thing.
To me, it's doubly broken because what you pointed out, which is that the current in its current layout, having the mining position external is just stupid. Because
now you're more in danger from
consumption.
You have to worry about the rocks exploding.
Right. That's my concern. Is the damage you take now is unprotected.
And then the other problem is that, number 2, once you drive to the spot, the driver does absolutely nothing but just sits there on his hands, and that's why I say it would need to be two.
Well, no, because sometimes you can reposition. You have to reposition and stuff. So I'm fine with that.
No, go on.
The whole concept of them selling it is, we wanted this to be, something for teamwork. That's where you say, okay, have 2 mining positions. In other words, the driver just have 2 seats in line, like a cuddy.
Yeah.
The guy in the front and the guy in the back both have a turret, and a left and it's mounted left and right, and that way the driver can pull up, park, and then he switches into his turret mining mode, and the backseat driver is already in his turret mining mode, and now you guys are double beaming. That way you could actually team up on those big rocks that can't be done by an individual, which is why you said this thing was designed to work for 2 people, right?
Also, it allows it to mine rocks that are not meant for the Grey Cat ROC.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, here's like a ship rock, but because we got 2 lasers, we can actually double our power
and so that's where I just say that everything they talked about is kind of BS with what they wanted it to do and what they put out.
And one thing to note is, like, in general with the Rock, if you do have 2 people at any one in normal use of the vehicle at any one time, half of your crew is doing nothing, and that's really bad gameplay.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, sure, maybe you can argue, well, they're looking for hostiles or whatever. It's like, okay, but that's not really gameplay.
You can make the argument. Say you have 4 people on a mole. The mole, you got 3 mining turrets, and then you've got the pilot. Obviously, the pilot would be realigning and maneuvering the ship so that they can give a better position for the 3 mining lasers. So that's his gameplay there.
Is so much higher that he needs to be in constant movement.
True. And you can make the argument that, say, with a Rock DS, say if it was like something like what Cam described, where it's a 2-seater Cyclone-like vehicle, but it has 1 mining arm. There's a driver, and then the passenger operates the mining arm.
Yeah, that would be
Then you have something similar to the mole, where the driver can realign the vehicle so get a better angle, and so that the mining laser operator can have a better view of what he's doing.
I'd even be okay with them saying, okay, the driver turret maybe can't do specific mining. I mean, I don't like that, but at least that would be acceptable if they said, but what he can do is maybe have the retrieval capability. So while the front the backseat guy is actually pointing a laser, he can move on to another rock, and the front seat guy has limited capability to scoop up what's been broken. What's mineable.
Or give him an itty bitty S1 turret on the thing.
Something. Just the way I guess my biggest problem is they said we wanted this for team play. Yet everything it's designed is not for team play.
Yeah.
So, but anyways.
Anyway, so back to this. So for this year, the CitizenCon ship concepts, which would you choose? A, B, C, or D?
I mean, I would choose B. I'm all for the ground vehicles. I want more.
Same.
I want B, but I'm not a fan of any of the designs that they're showing.
No, I like the C designs for the hover vehicle, specifically the top one, if it's a multi-seater, not a single-seater.
I don't think we're going to see anything hover, just because the number of hover that we already have, and they're still broken.
Yeah, no, I'm saying if I had to choose C, I want the top design. But yeah, look, C is actually number. Yeah, it's literally the least. It's the least likely because it's got 13, and it's the lowest vote count.
I like your idea of a 2-seater, though. You are correct in that they need another. Because as far as I know, the Dragonfly.
Well, you look at the design for C, and you look at it, and it kind of looks like a land skiff or something. Right? It looks like the Prowler from Halo 3, or like something from Star Wars. Like it looks like a multi-personnel vehicle. Like it's a driver. It can have like maybe two people in the back. So it's a 3-person vehicle. Like it'd be pretty cool. I just want to see more
like utility craft.
I'd like to see kind of going to blend up both those. I would like to see essentially the Nomad, but in a hover bike capability.
Right.
Or it's that little flatbed space in the back that you can drop maybe like 4 SKU.
So pretty much a Banu ground vehicle. It would be a hover vehicle that is essentially just a pickup truck, because they're the Banu. Of course it is.
There you go. Yeah.
I've wanted a Banu truck for years.
Lights and,
Also, I'm not gonna lie. I've wanted a Banu truck, like a hover truck, but like a just a normal freaking shipping truck. But it hovers and it's Banu, and that's it. It fits the Banu. It's a utility vehicle. It's a new ground vehicle, and it can
cargo though. If Stan from Hurston Dynamics invents a new cargo measuring system and forces everyone to use it in the system, is it a Stan ton?
That's it. Stream's over. Goodbye.
I'm gonna refuse to go Stanton system, and I'm gonna stick to fuckton.
You mean Pyroton, right?
But yeah. When is the
Microton?
November.
Yeah, Intergalactic Aerospace Expo.
19th?
It's usually like November 20th, 24th, usually somewhere there. Yeah.
I think that's
mid to late November.
We'll see some more ship stuff come out.
Probably we'll see some more ships. We'll probably see some more ships. We'll probably see some new skins. Obviously, the best in show is going to be showed off there. So.
I really still want a motherfucking Terrapin medical variant.
Yep.
I'm with you, man. I support you.
Same here. Doubly so. I mean, we've already spent a whole episode talking about a medical terrapin and what it would do and what it wouldn't do and all that. So.
Well, like I said in our private chat, I thought that the best chance of seeing a medical terrapin was going to be SitCon, just because of medical gameplay being introduced and it being SitCon where they could show off. So I was hoping for it, but the fact that we didn't get any mention of the terrapin whatsoever tells me that it's going to be a long time before we see any kind of terrapin.
Well, the only thing I will say that may or may not be in its favor is that they did say that we would see a variant of a well-loved ship.
That's what got me originally thinking about it.
Well, and we haven't seen any variants. Now, that being said, though, we do have data mined information that points to a mole that has a mining, or not mole, a Argo MPUV that literally has a mining laser fucking welded to the top of it. This was data mined from the files, so that might be what they were referencing.
People are saying that that's what their reference was in the Liberator to the ballista chassis vehicle that we're getting. Because that would be a variant of the Anvil vehicle line. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I for the sake of seeing more stuff, I hope you're right, Cam. But something tells me that we don't know anything.
I know nothing. I hear nothing.
But yeah, I'd love to see a medical terrapin. That would be awesome.
I think we all do at this point.
I'm doing bunker missions, and I finally got smart in that I am doing them in the microtech area, so all the guards are wearing white armor.
There you go.
So it's much easier to tell.
Are you showing this off right now?
I can.
I got to bail out, guys. I'm done.
He's dead.
But I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. One last thing, we do have the Squadron42. We got a monthly studio. We got a monthly studio report on Squadron. So, and episode 42 means Squadron42, I guess. Pretty much they talked about how a lot of AI tweaks. They're working on Tier 0 engineer behavior for some of the AI, and how they have AI working. They're actually using usables and usable items, and they're working on that. They're working on better animations, face animations, motion capture stuff for the characters. Yeah, so they're leaning on railings and stuff, and just not acting like mannequins or like cultists standing on chairs, but actually acting like normal people, but they're AI. So you got that animation more. They're just they worked on some level design, like stuff in the levels that's animated, including Vanduul combat. So pretty much a lot of face animation, stuff like that for cutscenes. Character art, they were talking about just doing, September saw character art continue to up-res existing content with the most commonly worn outfits scheduled for Q4. When done, the completion status of all characters will be around 85 to 90%. Skin textures and hair were also updated to bring all characters, hero and background, to a next-gen quality level, because they just switched over to a Gen 12 renderer recently, so they're making use of that. Environment art, same thing, just continued work through all campaign locations while leaving enough flexibility to adjust for in-progress design and gameplay elements. And by the way, again, Squadron42, for anyone who doesn't know, is Star Citizen's single-player, story-driven campaign with Mark Hamill and Gary Oldman and Henry Cavill and all those. So this is a monthly report on how that's going. Engine stuff, it's a lot to go through, but to summarize it, pretty much they increased they're essentially improving and giving some more optimal passes on the physics engine and the renderer engine, graphic stuff.
Oh shit.
Besides that, we also got gameplay feature. They talk about track view performance and how it can best support the complexity of the cinematic sequences currently in production, alongside several productive optimizations and fixes. Sequence updates were broken into smaller individual jobs that can run through a batch update system to make the most of modern multi-core processors. This was a great success, with some sequences seeing six-fold improvement. They also moved the character customizer that previously used the PU front end into the campaign's levels. The UI is currently being converted to the building block system, so a major part of the work involved untangling it from the front end so it can be added to object container in game. It's now fully working, albeit with blockout UI. The team is currently assessing where they want to take it in both appearance and usability. Gameplay story, so like all the narrative stuff in the actual levels themselves. Just some polishing. Talked about getting like, and again, more making the NPCs less like mannequins and more alive and giving them kind of life and animation. Having managed to solve the helmet problem, we then did a rapid sweep through all our scenes with helmets to update them accordingly. It's been great to see so many scenes take a leap forward and to see our characters holding and interacting with their headwear in a realistic way in game.
I hope we get that in PTU soon.
Yeah.
Especially too, so I'll note too, with the new inventory system and all that stuff. If you are like, hey, I am, I need food. My character's hungry or thirsty. I need to go and ingest some of that. If you're like, okay, well, let me go and take off my helmet. Well, if you take off your helmet, you have nowhere to put it. Where the fuck is this asshole?
Just I'm updating the description right. But yeah, so we got that. We also got graphics and VFX programming, talking more about the render, the Gen 12 renderer. Performance improvements, depth of field and motion blur have been optimized. Terrain rendering, fog to maintain the same performance at higher resolutions. Pretty much again, just optimization, just making it run better. Level design, they talked the space and dogfight team expanded some of the patrol spaces at the beginning of the game to better work with the new scanning implementation. They also added wild lines to cockpit comms, making them more contextual and granular. For anyone who doesn't know, wild lines is like when you're in the PU or in the PTU and you're playing Star Citizen and you're playing against NPC pirates and you kill one of them, and then one of the other ones goes like, "You killed my buddy," like I'll kill you for that, right? That's a wild line. So just randomly generated lines for NPC when in combat.
By the way, here's an example of some loot here. If you want to look at it, should be streaming here.
I'm not. But yeah, Squadron42 is making some progress, so that's good.
So I just wanted to show because it's got so I picked up a laser pointer, I picked up magazines, 2 Coda pistols, and there's also some comp boards which have no functionality here. It has a main processing unit used inside various computers and electronics, so maybe that'll be like some kind of a repair component or something for ship module or subcomponents or something. And I found some Dignus root. which apparently I can't eat that one, but yeah, it was definitely a good idea to do the bunker mission on Microtech here.
Because they're in white.
Because it was a lot easier to see who the fuck the guards are versus the hostiles here. Also, the guns we're seeing here on NPCs do often have some unique.
Oh, I see that they got the bearing reflex sight, which is my personal favorite.
Yep, I just got one of those off of a submachine gun.
I'm watching it right now, so.
Okay. And then I can just drop that.
So everyone else is watching it.
By and large, it looks like the NPCs, at least currently, don't really have anything on them besides just the bare
their armor.
Every now and again, you might see some gear on their chest rig.
Wait, can you make boxes of their armor and then just carry those?
Well, yes. So I could go and, for example, so let's say, for example, if I were to loot this guy. Show me.
Having trouble? Aha.
So I have now stripped his chest piece off, and
I
it
see.
is now in a box. But that's it.
Yeah, but if you have enough, you got a bunch of guys, or you got your multi-tool, you can just, haul those boxes to your ship.
No, that's funny. It's still showing the. So I opened the chest armor, so it's showing not only my inventory, but also the body's inventory, even though I've removed the torso armor from the body, and then it's showing this inventory down here is the torso armor's inventory. The torso armor itself has inventory. Let me see.
That guy watching you is kind of just like, dude, what the hell are you doing, man?
Yeah, really.
Like, he doesn't care. He's kind of just like, what?
This
why?
guy's high as fuck. But one thing I really hope they do is to add for the NPCs, it's like, hey, we need you to go and protect these NPCs or help them or whatever else. If they are on the same side as me, give me fucking markers for them.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine that I don't get markers for the hostiles. I wouldn't. But for the friendlies, you would think they would be like, oh, hey, it's the fucking contractor corporate hired to help us out here. Yeah, we'll share our telemetry data with you, I guess. That one I already looted.
Or they can be the other way around, where it's like, oh, thank God, help. Here's the telemetry data. Now help us out.
Yeah.
Do what you're paid to do.
There's a Morningstar helmet. I did find in one. Ooh, what's this?
A small box.
Huh,
hey,
so
Goliath.
I found some random planes.
Oh, okay, bye, Goliath.
Too bad I can't pick up that box. It's right size.
So I take it that NPC weapons now have attachments on them, and you loot those attachments. Like, this is another bearing scope. That's ×4, isn't it?
Yep. I don't know why you take a ×4. Also, too, you can't. If you really want to be cheeky, you can steal the ammo.
Yep. You say cheeky, but I mean, let's be honest. That's all we're gonna be doing anyway.
Oh fuck yeah.
Free ammo, man.
It's gonna be tedious, but
you are talking to someone who's looted guns very tediously 600 times. More so, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
Over the course of 2 years.
Another. Yeah, here's one.
But here, the back to the squadron stuff. While you're doing that, just going to have your footage on screen while I Read it and
You can
weep.
read?
So we were talking
here's
about
some food I can actually eat.
graphics and level design. So yeah, we already talked about level designs. They added new wild lines and how they're essentially making the encounters more alive and how they're making them work with new gameplay mechanics. And just again, it's more just optimization, some tweaks, and some modifying.
Well, I am hoping that we got those helmet improvements sooner
Yes.
rather than later.
Also, they talked about for level design. They also talked about further fleshed out FPS play spaces with additional details, while social design team continued the significant task of implementing all in-game themes for review and sign off. Okay. Narrative, we've got a narrative. It's let's see, supporting art and design on various levels, generating dialogue and vignettes needed to help populate areas and clarify intended gameplay. Also create environmental storytelling docs and not only dig deeper into the story and history of the character of a location, but also to provide initial ideas for set dressing, such as appropriate signage and branding. Essentially just making the world feel more alive using more environmental storytelling and just again more optimization, more polish.
More Polish?
Polish. Maybe it's Polish polish. Or maybe they're polishing the Polish. I'm just imagining like a bald Polish man that they're polishing his head now.
Golden Ball?
Let's see. The QA continued to work alongside cinematics on new chapter content with a wider team picking up testing until an embedded tester is brought in. The team also supported ongoing Vandul AI development and general AI function upgrades.
I, for one, look forward to
Vandul
Swarm on foot.
Yeah, so pretty much Vandal Swarm and Star Marine.
Yeah.
Which will be so fucking cool. Just, yeah, first thing we gotta do, just crack out the FS9s.
Fuck yeah. Well, or whatever the best high rate of fire gun there is at that point.
True.
Yeah, maybe we'll have handheld HMGs by then.
Or maybe the P8P is gonna be out, the P8 pistol. Because it's a machine pistol. And machine pistols are fucking cool.
Still.
Alright, my French, but I mean, like, there's nothing, like... Because when I think of a machine pistol, especially when you look at the design of the P8P, and it's a sidearm. But it's an automatic sidearm. That'd be the first time we got one in Star Citizen. That'd be nice. Something like, it's essentially like the Uzi equivalent. Except it's not...
How dare you want new things?
Let's see. Last month, UI team worked on the Aegis and RSI interface styles so that they can be used on various interactive screens. Progress also made on the upcoming Star Map rework. Yes! That will be used in both the PU and Squadron42. Posters and signage were created to make an unrevealed area feel more lived in and realistic too. And lastly, we end off the Squadron42 monthly studio report with VFX. Finally, for September's report, VFX set up a mini strike team for an epic scene featuring a significant number of enemies. A new particle rig for distant vehicles was created, which allows cinematics to easily animate a whole set of effects on low-poly, non-AI vehicles. This was well received by the cinematics art team, who are looking forward to populating various locations with background action. So this means that we'll be able to see, like, ongoing battles in the distance without the tanking our rig's performance. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Sounds groovy. But that's the Squadron42 stuff. I think that's all the Star Citizen news we have, actually.
Yeah, pretty much. At least until we got another patch here, and it looks like tonight there's not going to be one. So fingers crossed, soon we'll have that 30K recovery system. So that'll be pretty fucking nice.
Yeah. I do have one other topic that I've written down. If we completed it in time. What? Non-Star Citizen. It's actually, you know what? It's actually good news, and it's revolving EA of all things. It's good news and EA related.
Yeah, you bite your fucking tongue.
So FIFA wants EA to double payments for the next licensing deal. So obviously, EA has an exclusivity, or I should say, had an exclusivity over FIFA games. They were licensing. FIFA was licensing out the names of them so that they can make FIFA games. But for renewing the deal, FIFA wants them to pay double. EA's like, fuck that, because they're all greedy. And
I mean, how is that good news though?
Because it means that they won't be able to make FIFA games.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, they'll just call it something else.
Now, that's the thing. It's they still have licenses to make like to use some of the players and their likenesses and stuff. So they're just gonna be able to make FIFA games that aren't called FIFA. However, FIFA themselves are going to be looking into making them games themselves, or have someone else make the game. So you're gonna have competition. It's not just going to be one person making the same bullshit digital casino every year. Which is probably why FIFA doesn't want them to do it, and charging them back. But here, according to the article, FIFA wants twice its current deal with EA Sports for the use of its professional football license. A new report finds FIFA is seeking more than double what it currently receives from EA Sports, according to people with knowledge of the talks. A figure that would increase its payout from the series to more than $1 billion for each 4-year World Cup cycle, according to the New York Times.
You just ask for like 20% of the fucking microtransactions.
I was about to say, seriously, because at that point you're going to be raking it in anyways. Between the whales and the victims that are providing the Ultimate Team, FIFA Ultimate Team mode, loot box bullshit. Because they're pretty much the ones keeping it alive, the whales and the victims, because they're addicted and they have no choice. Addiction's a disease and it needs to be treated. It's not their fault. But their actions still have consequences, which is worth bringing up. Here, they also continue saying, there's also a disagreement between the companies on what the new deal should cover. FIFA, for example, would like to keep EA's exclusivity on a smaller scale so it could pursue new opportunities for revenue, said the Times, New York Times specifically. EA Sports, however, argues that it should be able to explore other business ventures with the FIFA video game brand, such as NFTs.
Did you say NFTs?
NFTs.
Dude, that shit's such a fucking scam.
Yep. The current deal... Well, we're talking about two very scam-heavy companies.
Sure.
The current deal between EA and FIFA doesn't expire until the end of next year, 2022. But the New York Times reported that negotiations on extending it will likely come to a conclusion this year. EA Sports seems poised to move on without the FIFA brand. Last week, the company said it was considering to rename the franchise. Also, earlier in the month, the company trademarked EA Sports FC.
Well, you were right about one thing. The negotiations were short.
I want to hit you right now. This news follows as EA Sports has extended its contract with professional football union FIF Pro yesterday, and also the Madden stuff, so this way they can have exclusivity over Madden for like another 20 plus years. Madden, it's a shame because like Madden 07, 08 was such a good game. It was also the only Madden I ever played. And the only reason, and mind, I'm not someone who likes sports games. The only reason I played Madden 08 was because I broke my arm that year and I couldn't do anything else. And at the time, I still am really big into sports, just not playing football as much. Obviously, then I was playing football and every sport under the sun. and some. So, like, yeah, I wanted to. I didn't want to give that up, so I got Madden 08, and it's a fun game. It just, again, I haven't played it since 08, after the cast came off, essentially, which wasn't for like another 6 months after I got it. That was a fun break. I broke my ulna and radius.
Sounds fun.
So I broke 2 bones in my arm. My arm was literally not being held together by my skin. It was gruesome. It was fun though.
Look, the bleeding was all internal, and that's where the blood's supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. There was no external bleeding. It's all internal, but it was. Let's just say my arm was not aligned with the rest of my arm. My hand was not aligned. Anyway, so that was the initial report. Since then, FIFA does not want an exclusive license deal. Longtime EA Sports licensing partner FIFA says it is clear that this needs to be a space that is occupied by more than one party controlling all rights. Now again, I say it's a good thing, but baby steps in the right direction, and I mean baby steps. Like a pinky moved in the right direction here. Because again, FIFA isn't much better than EA, and EA's still going to be making their FIFA Ultimate Team bullshit digital casino, loot box, microtransaction palooza, but they're just not going to be calling it FIFA, and I think that might hurt it in regards of brand recognition. So that's a bit of a win, and anything that hurts EA is kind of a win for us. After nearly 3 decades of partnership with Electronic Arts, FIFA is looking to play the field. Football Federation today laid out a change in strategy, saying it planned to widen its gaming and esports portfolio. FIFA is bullish and excited about the future in gaming and esports for football, and it is clear that this needs to be a space that is occupied by more than one party controlling all rights, the organization said. Technology and mobile companies are now actively competing to be associated with FIFA, its platforms, and global tournaments. So, by the way, this means that EA won't be able to do any FIFA, World Cup stuff or anything in the future, regardless of whether they continue making a game under a different name. FIFA said it is working with a number of developers, investors, and analysts to devise a long-term strategy in gaming and esports, saying gaming and esports are the fastest growing media verticals on the planet, with new and diverse types of games launching continuously. It is therefore of crucial importance for FIFA and its stakeholders to maximize all future opportunities for football and gaming fans. The organization also said it would use the FIFA World Cup and FIFA Women's World Cup events to launch and integrate, according to them, quote, new FIFA games and esports competitions. EA's current deal with FIFA, which gives it exclusive rights to FIFA-branded action and management games, runs through 2022. Publisher last week revealed that it was exploring the idea of renaming, blah, blah, blah. We already covered all that. So, yeah, that is the news about that. So, FIFA, which is FIFA Ultimate Team specifically, is arguably, I think EA makes most of their money from it, from those macrotransactions and loot boxes. You know what? I'm actually going to do a search right now. Okay, so EA generated $1.62 billion in revenue from its FIFA Ultimate Team offerings in fiscal year 2021. The game mode is available across EA's FIFA, Madden, and NHL franchises. FIFA 21 has amassed more than 28 million console and PC players since its October 2020 release, Title helped EA generate $1.34 billion in revenue in its fiscal Q4 of 2021. EA's full year revenue reached $5.6 billion. 29% of that total came from the Ultimate Team modes, though. So yeah, that's one. That's around 1.34 to 1.4. That's a shit ton of money. That's still over $1 billion worth of money that they make from just FIFA alone. So this is probably going to be a big hit to them if the brand recognition really bites them in the ass. And I'm hoping it does. So yeah, that's the I guess good news about FIFA. What else did I list here as topics? All in the description. Nintendo Switch has a thing now. Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion subscription will now cost $50 a year. And this is including Animal Crossing DLC, N64 and Genesis games to play online. Whether it's ludicrous. So pretty much what this is a I'm sure people watching probably know more about this than I do, just because I don't follow a lot of Nintendo news. But pretty much $50 a year. It's like a Game Pass thing for Nintendo, but it's $50 a year, $80 a year if you want family memberships. So I think that's across 8 accounts. Versus a single account being $50 a year, and this is including N64 games, Sega Genesis games, as well as some newer games like Animal Crossing New Horizons, Happy Home Paradise expansion DLC, stuff like that. Games I have no idea what they are, so have to sue me for that. But I mean, that's a lot of money for very, I don't know, like a lot of that stuff you can play with an emulator nowadays, and that's the thing is, this is Nintendo's attempt to crack down on emulation. They hate emulation because again, it's a free version of what they're doing.
Exactly. How dare you not pay us our dues?
So this is their attempt to crack down on it, is by making like, oh, you can play Sega Genesis games and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Streets of Rage 2, Gunstar Heroes, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Sin and Punishment, Star Fox. All these games are going to be part of this Switch Online expansion subscription thing, except it's going to cost you $50 a year, and if you're paying for more than one person, it's going to be $80 a year. And the reason a lot of people are upset about this, and I think rightfully so, it's an absurd amount of money, is the new subscription will cost $50 a year for individuals and $80 a year for family memberships, compared to the basic Nintendo Switch Online price of $20 annually, $20 a year, for an individual, and $35 a year, which covers $35 a year for a family plan, which is 8 accounts. So $35 a year for 8 accounts, $20 a year for 1 account for the basic Nintendo Switch Online subscription. But if you're going for the Nintendo Switch Online expansion subscription, that's $50 per 1 account and $80 for anything more than 1 account. And this launches October 25th. Yeah, that's That kind of sucks. Gonna lie. Ooh, and we have Twitch Aftermath hack. The hack Aftermath. That's right. So for any of you who doesn't, as everyone I'm watching is probably aware, and I hope so, because I hope you reset your password, reset your stream key, and enabled two-step authentication, and made sure that your bank account stuff is all in order. Because Twitch got hacked a few weeks, a week or two ago, and it was a really severe thing. It revealed a lot of stuff. I thankfully, like the day after,
passwords were like user login data.
You could see how much money people, like the Twitch partners, were making.
Now, one thing to note though on this would be that, so at least as far as Twitch have admitted, and at least as far as my information of what Twitch has admitted goes, I do not believe any financial data, as in credit card numbers or anything like that, was said to be lost. However, the financial documents of
I have it here.
Individuals were making.
It was literally just numbers. We looked at the leaks in the stream. It was literally just numbers of how much they were making.
From Twitch. This person made this much from Twitch.
Right, and it was like a year thing, like 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Like it didn't have any like other than just a number with a dollar sign on it. There was no actual financials in the leak.
Yeah.
Although I remember making the joke when we were covering it, saying how for me it would be like negative $1 million. Because I am monetized on Twitch, but I don't do much, unfortunately. No one watches. But here, we got an article saying
always watching.
Twitch says minimal impact to users from hack. The streaming website explains in a blog update that passwords and sensitive personal information were not leaked. Regardless, change your passwords regularly anyways, enable two-step authentication, and honestly, reset your stream key at least one. I would say reset your stream key at least once a month. Because it's smart to do, and it's safer. Or I'd say just once a month. Today, Twitch announced in a blog post that its recent security breach didn't expose user passwords, saying Twitch passwords have not been exposed. We are also confident that systems that store Twitch login credentials, which are hashed in bcrypt, were not accessed, nor were full credit card numbers or ACH/bank information.
Okay.
We've undergone a thorough review of our information, including in the files exposed, and are confident that it only affected a small fraction of users and the customer impact is minimal. We are contacting those who have been impacted directly. And the hack was including content creator payout information, site source code. Again, we covered that in the previous. I don't even remember. Was it an episode of Cast and Shadows or Leftovers? I don't even remember. I think it was Leftovers.
Potato.
Leftovers is pretty much just a part 2 of any episode of Cast and Shadows that week. So.
Pretty much.
Same thing. Same different. So yeah, that's the Twitch hack aftermath news. Obviously, anyone watching right now live will have seen that there is I have a poll in the chat asking if we should talk about the Master Chief Collection Season 8 update on Wednesday, to which 2 people have voted yes, only if we stream gameplay. So I guess we're going to be playing Halo while talking about Halo on Wednesday.
Hello.
Oops.
It's me, pick up.
No. If it was, I would. But it wasn't even a call, it was an alarm I had set for something.
Those bastards, they killed Kenny.
Am I supposed to be seeing a gray screen right now?
Maybe. Like in my stream?
Yeah.
Nope. I'm running around Microtech.
There we go. I got it fixed again. We're all good. All good. But yeah, so some gaming news stuff. It's not been great.